at work right now, but I'll pull up with my crew for your next stream. Okay, what's up? What's up? What's up, everyone? What's up? How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? I hope everyone has had a good week. I hope everyone had a good week. Right? A good holiday. But I hope you had a good start to your week. I hope you had a good start to your week. So, I have two videos tonight, right? Two long videos. We will definitely be talking about the whole the Minnesota craziness, right? With Somalians, how Minnesota is facing a scandal right now. Okay, the whole state. Okay, I believe the whole state, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know the details, so definitely we'll check that out. We will also but the first video we have is pretty much it's a debate, right? Feminist women versus non-feminist women. It's a little bit older, but I think it's interesting. I wanted to check it out. So tonight will be a pretty long stream, right? I had to call out for work today, so I had something other things to do, but I'm home early. After doing some errands or whatnot. So, I had a good amount of time, so I figured why not start the stream early, crazy early, and watch some interesting videos. Hopefully it'll be some good videos, right? So, hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully you guys will like it.
Ideas for a living. I don't have like a political agenda. I'm just
All right, let's get started. I wanted to watch this for a while now. Right? Feminist women versus non-feminist women. So I think that'll be fun. So let's check this video out.
I need to understand and know about your experiences that feed into your perspective on this subject.
So my professional background, I'm a journalist. I write about ideas for a living. I don't have like a political agenda. I just write and say things that I think are true. In terms of how I arrived at some of my views on what we're going to talk about today, sexual revolution, I think I was raised with a lot of the assumptions around the sexual revolution, which are sort of like the water that we swim in now culturally. And it wasn't until I got to university that I started gradually unpicking them. After I left university, I worked in a rape crisis centre, which was quite formative for me in that I saw some of the ways in which some of the feminist theory that I had learned at university didn't quite map onto reality. And then after leaving that job, I became a journalist. Again, I kept thinking about these things. And I guess I've reached a point where I take a very mixed view of this history. I think there are good things. I think there are bad things that have come out of the sexual revolution.
Louise, can you define for me what you mean by sexual revolution for anybody that doesn't know? Because it's going to be quite an important term today.
Right. So I think that there are two things, really. The ideological event, really, of the 1960s and 1970s. So this was a period of, not just in relation to sexual relationships, but all sorts of things, a period of really questioning and challenging traditional ideas, and particularly traditional Christian ideas about what sexual relationships ought to look like. I think actually the point that we've reached in terms of progressive culture is the assumption that those traditional ideas are necessarily questionable, are necessarily fit to be challenged. I think that's the ideological thing that we're talking about. But there's this other thing that happens at the same time, which is partially connected, which is a material change. So you have the introduction of the pill, the advent of safe abortion. Remember, historically, abortion is not safe. So you have the advent of safe abortion, and of course, it's decriminalization. You have things like the washing machine and central heating and all sorts of other domestic appliances, domestic technologies, which actually have been enormously important in changing sexual relationships, because all of a sudden it means that it basically takes less time to run a home, and so it becomes more possible for women to enter the workforce. So then you see this wave of not only changing marriage rates.
Alan. Alan, so what's no better? So when I say no better, I see you today we have a lot of the left Democrats, how they would criticize, complain, or have a view that they're not like the right. When you see a lot of actions that they are no better than the people they complain about. I'm not watching it yet, but I'm going to be doing, I don't know if you've seen it, right? This whole thing that's happening in Minnesota. Again, I know very little about it, so I want to watch this short video or this hour-long video. Not this one, but it will be the next video about the supposed scandal that is happening in Minnesota right now. So I'm going to check that out, right? I'm definitely going to check that out. But that's pretty much what I mean. The right, the left kind of always perceive, make themselves seem like they are more morally sound, right? And they're not.
And birth rates, but also women entering so enormous that it can be a little bit hard in 2025 to realize how enormous they were, because we've become used to them.
We'll talk about all of that today. Going clockwise then, Erica, same question to you about your background and the work that's fed into the perspective you have.
I'm a psychoanalyst in private practice. I'm an author. I write books about parenting, and the book I'm probably most well known for is my book, Being There, and it's basically about the neuroscience of attachment, or the importance of mothers in the first 3 years of a child's life to create emotional security, which lays down the foundation for mental health in the future. And so from my perspective,
No, you said that they're showing they're no better. I'm not sure what you mean. Again, like I said, okay? Democrats always think that they have a moral high ground, okay? They're not racist. They're not sexist. They're not whatever. It's the other side, right? It's the other side that is all whatever words you want to say. Misogynistic, sexist, racist, all that stuff, right? That they are corrupt, okay? Well, tonight we'll be talking about it, okay? I believe that, again, the left is no better than the people they complain about. They're no better than the people they complain about. I think you might have made a little oopsie daisy. No. I'm not sure what you mean, no better. They are no better than the people they complain about. That's literally what I mean, okay? You are not better, okay? You're not someone better than all the, you're not better than Donald Trump, right? You're not better than Donald Trump. Like, a lot of them are corrupt. A lot of them have done dirty things, right? No better. They're no better than Donald Trump. You want to say that, oh my God, Trump, deported hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants? Yeah, you're no better, right? Biden, Obama have done the same and more. You're no better. Not an oopsie daisy at all. But again, what we would be talking about, and again, I started the stream pretty early. It's like about 6 here. It's gonna, I usually don't stop the stream until like 10 o'clock, around 10:30. So we'll have a long stream. We'll be watching this video on, feminism versus feminists, women versus non-feminist women. But we'll be watching a recent video. Okay, Minnesota is. They recently did, like, I guess, a kind of like a documentary or whatever on a big scandal is happening in Minnesota right now, a blue state. Okay, so I want to check it out. But again, it's that kind of no better is probably leading towards, again, that video. But we will be checking that video a bit later. Like I said, I usually have a stream until 10, like about 10:30. I start early today because I didn't really have work. So I'm gonna be watching this for, this is about a 2 hour long video, right? So I'll be watching that later on, probably, I don't know, whenever this would finish. So
I guess the conversation we're going to have. But I consider myself a term that I like better and that my community uses, the people that I work with, and which is I consider myself a maternal feminist. Basically, there was a school of thought called maternal feminism, which really elevated women in their work as mothers and really talked about it as very important work. And so I'm not an anti-feminist, and I'm certainly for women to have choice. So it'll be an interesting discussion. I guess you could say I'm more of a centrist on this.
I want to say this, right? Maybe I'm not necessarily a anti-feminist, okay? I'm more anti-modern feminism. I don't see the point in feminism today, okay? In the West, I don't see a point in feminism today in the West. I believe that we as people are as equal as can be, okay? Legally, we are as equal as can be. So I don't see the point in modern day feminism, okay? In the West, I don't see a point in modern day feminism. It's only, to be honest, it's actually just creating a bunch of really terrible, bitter women, okay? Freedom, equal rights, you got it. Great. I support it, right? I'm not here saying, I wish women don't have equal rights to men. No. But modern day feminism, I find it needless and actually counterintuitive to society right now.
This topic, as Louise said, there are parts of it.
I am best known as the host of the Guilty Feminist podcast, and
she's unbearable. And she's a kind of a reason why I say modern day feminism is honestly just useless.
started that podcast to learn about feminism. And I have since researched a lot. I wrote a book called The Guilty Feminist. I've just written a book called 6 Conversations We're Scared to Have, which does also challenge some of the directions that we've gone, but more in about how combative we've become as progressive people to each other, and how difficult it is to talk to people on the right now, and how we need to get back in rooms and we need to be having difficult discussions like this. So it's interesting what Louise says about being raised in a progressive household, but then being disillusioned and thinking that there's some ways in which life was better before the sexual revolution, because I'm effectively a time traveler. I did live before the sexual revolution, because when I was 14, just coming into my puberty, my family joined a religious cult. I didn't have any normal sexual development, and I didn't get out, I didn't escape that patriarchal cult till I was in my mid-20s. So I know what it is, and I do not believe women want it. I know what it is to not have autonomy, to not have agency, and to not have emotional freedom. And those are the 3 big things that I think the sexual revolution gave women. First of all, agency.
You know, this is my thing where a cult, I find women always like to compare the extremes to the normality, right? To the mundane. I'm not looking into it. I have some glance-ready thing where women weren't slaves, right? During, let's say, when she was a child, the outside of her cult, right? Women weren't slaves. Women weren't treated as slaves. Okay. Now, yes, did women have rights like men? No. I don't disagree with the whole no credit card thing, all the other stuff. Okay, but let's not. It's like you're comparing your life under a dictatorship, right? And saying that, oh, you wouldn't want that. Yeah, but you wouldn't have that, right? Living in the West, you wouldn't have a life living under a dictatorship. So most people wouldn't be living. It wouldn't be like, you wouldn't want a life that's not like the sexual revolution, because the alternative would be a sex cult. What? It's like most people don't like live under a sex cult, right? A patriarch, like she's trying to. That it's just It's the comparison is just honestly wacky in my opinion.
I think it's just agency is so important. So agency is just the ability to go around and choose what you do moment to moment. And autonomy is, can I decide what my life looks like, the shape of my life? What choices do I have? And emotional freedom is the third one. And I don't think the sexual revolution did give us emotional freedom, because I think we're still sitting in a lot of guilt as women as to, like, if I'm at work, I should be at home with my children. If I'm at home with my children, am I providing for them financially well enough? Or am I going to have a career when I go back to work? If I'm doing both of those things very well, am I a good enough daughter, friend? Am I running a half marathon for charity? Like, we are in a stage of such guilt. That's why my show and one of my books is called The Guilty.
That's just life. I swear to God, a lot of times women seem like they want to live in a utopian way of life. That is life. Man or women, you will feel that type of guilt. Cyber trader, you were MAGA anyway. To be honest, I didn't vote for Trump, so I don't really know. Okay, I didn't vote for Trump, so I don't really consider myself MAGA. Okay, I will say this, right? When we talk about the other video later on, I would say I'm more center right. Okay, I'm center, but maybe lean a little bit right. Okay, but again, I didn't vote for Trump, so it's not like I'm a Trump bumper.
Feminist, because I felt that feminism had become another thing to feel guilty about. And so anything to me that engenders more shame in women or more guilt in women, or takes their autonomy away, even emotionally, for me, I would like to move far away from that. Because in my life, every year I've been away from that cult, and I have had more autonomy and more emotional freedom. I have felt more spaciousness, and I have tonal roles up if I'm a person in.
So autonomy, emotional freedom, and agency. I also want to touch on the word guilt as well, because I remember that being pertinent to our conversation. But if I reflect on those three words, Louise, autonomy, emotional freedom, and agency as the byproduct of the sexual revolution, would you agree with that?
Yes and no. So I think that, can I give an example that is like quite dark, but I think throws us immediately into like some of these really difficult questions about freedom and whose freedom, right? There's this line from Matthew Arnold that I really like. Freedom is a really good horse to ride, but to ride somewhere. Like, freedom ought to have a purpose, right? And so an example from my professional life, which I think highlights some of the issues about sexual revolution promoting freedom, the law around BDSM. I won't go into the details because it's boring, but there's like complicated law around BDSM, basically. Like, so this is bondage, domination, sadomasochism. So people basically doing consensually violent or abusive things in sex. So stuff that would be illegal if there weren't consent, pretty much. And the law around it is complicated. The law basically says that you can consent up to a certain level of harm. And then above that level of harm, you're criminally liable. And if something goes wrong, like, you're done for it. And there's been ongoing campaigns by proponents of sexual freedom to loosen these laws and to make it so that you can consent to more than what you legally can at the moment. So consent to like serious body modifications as a sex thing, or consent to quite serious violence as a sex thing. Like, if something goes wrong at the moment, you might be criminally liable. So me and a bunch of other feminists set up a group called We Can't Consent to This. The reason we did this is because there were an increasing number of cases in the UK, this isn't unique to the UK, of women who had died during sex and their partners claimed that they had consented to the violence that killed them. So this was normally strangulation, but there were other like horrible ways in which these women died. And these men were getting away with this in the sense that they were successfully claiming, no, this was all just a sex game. And they were successfully avoiding a murder prosecution and sometimes getting very light sentences for manslaughter. And I think this is a really, really good example of freedom for who and freedom for what. Because you
know, one of the things where I think the sexual revolution brought in is just to allow people to be uninhibited, right? Have no inhibitions, to allow people to be degenerates, have no control, no self-control. Again, I think the desire to tie someone up, at least to the extreme of what BDSM would do, is honestly you are in a state of lust, but like where where it's an extreme, right? So those are the things where it's like the hookup culture where you just have sex for sex purpose, or like have like inhibition. There's no, because this is the thing where I just feel like this whole thing where now we're having sex with people that we could care less about, and it's fine, but it's like it's to the extreme where people will just do it constantly. Okay, people would like just there's no emotion in it, and I always think that it's hollow in my opinion. Um, you know, uh, this creation of the hookup culture, the situationships, all that stuff. It's it is us indulging in our debauchery, and I think that that's rarely, if ever, a good thing for human beings.
You can completely see why some campaigners would want the law on BDSM to be much more liberal. And they would say, and they do say, I'm a consenting adult. Who are you to tell me that I can't do X, Y, Z in the bedroom? Who are you to tell me that the law ought to step in and try and criminalize what adults do in the privacy of their own homes?
Because you can kill each other. That's why, right? Because to be honest, it leads to a. Uh, this is a thing where when you controversial, right? Maybe this is controversial. Where I think the whole alphabet community, it is literally a group of people who want no boundaries, no limits, no rules, no regulation. It's like you're completely free, right? Completely sexual revolution. You can do what you want. You could indulge in any and all ways of debauchery. And I'm like, I think that's a dangerous thing. I really do. And I think it's a backwards for human beings.
And you can see their argument. But then I say, okay, but the problem is we're all connected to one another, and your freedoms impact on mine. And this all, a society.
Real Rain, what is up, my brother? BDSM is 2 steps away from satanic sex orgies. I kind of agree. That's why I said it's a slippery slope, right? Because you open one door for whatever, then you want to open the next door, and you will keep on doing it because you want the freedom, right? You want all doors to be open so you can have the freedom. But again, I think this is what we see in a lot of these movies. Like, let's say The Purge, right? The Purge, in a sense that you want to just because, or like how rich people, like Diddy, right? Like Diddy, right? We can always say like, Puff Daddy. Here's a man that is a multi-billionaire, okay? He's done it all. This man has done it all. So because everything in life is boring to him, now he needs to do the extremes. And we've seen this so many times in like movies and stuff like that. Yes, it's movies, but there's a bit of truth to it where like these people who you've done it all, right? Like the people who have sex, you've done the vanilla stuff, one-on-one, a threesome, you done, gay set, you done trans, you done it all. So everything is so bored, but you still have the desire for that dopamine effect, okay? For that high of new things. You're going to try to push that button. And I think that's what Diddy did, right? That man is so rich, he's done it all. So that's why he pushed to do more. Also, the dopamine rush leads to more and more extremes. Exactly, okay? Exactly. That dopamine rush, it makes you, it's a drug. It's a drug where you constantly want that dopamine rush.
Society is greater than the sum of its parts. And if you're going to, and I don't know what we do in these cases, these concrete cases where it seems to me that a terrible wrong has been done to this woman. And if we don't have illiberal laws, at least partially illiberal laws, then men who make this defense are going to get away with it. And so I'm sorry this is a dark example to like kick off the conversation with, but I just think it's a pertinent example, that these things are good generally. I think they are good generally, but they are virtues that need to be balanced against other virtues. And that's the challenge.
Freedom is a wonderful thing. No one would want to take freedom away from human beings, but excessive freedom without structure is not good for human beings. So I'll use the example because I talk about children a lot. If you raise your children with respect for their will, that is a good thing, right? You don't want to quash their will. You want to support their individuality and support their choices. And even when raising children, you're going to give them choices. Do you want eggs or waffles for breakfast? Do you want to wear your green pants or your blue pants? No more than that with small children. But if you don't provide any structure for them, they don't feel loved, they don't feel secure, they don't feel stable. And so what I'm afraid of is that we went too far. It's not that freedom isn't a good thing. It's that excessive freedom without any structure at all can also make us feel untethered, unbound, without connections to the people that we're most intimate with. And that's my concern. So it's not that sexual freedom isn't a good thing. It's that, in my mind, it may have gone too far.
Just to add to that before you jump in there, despite the general decline in sex, especially amongst younger people, societal acceptance of casual sex has grown quite rapidly. In the UK, approval of casual sex rose from just 10% in 1999 to 42% in 2022.
The hookup culture.
Yeah.
Which I believe has been a detriment to Western culture, right? So the family have decreased, hookup culture have increased. You're just having sex. It's just sex for sex purpose, right? Just random, no emotion, emotionless sex. To quote Jocko, discipline is the ultimate freedom. I agree, right? I agree. And with discipline, structure, it's understanding, right, of the world. It's where you're not, you are. I believe sometimes when we have no structure, we would go to the extremes. And I think for human beings, it's too dangerous.
So when you say rules and structure, Erica, I'm really interested in that turn of phrase because, of course, children need rules and structure, but women aren't children.
Well,
you can beg to differ, right? You can beg to differ.
We're all children. Men are children too. From a psychoanalyst perspective, there's a child in everyone.
Of course, but I think when we're talking about rules and grown women, we are really, really in dangerous water because we are looking at a society that is increasingly closing down on women and telling women where they could do better, be better. If we're looking at an...
What are you talking about? How is that? Seriously, society, in my honest opinion, is holding women to no rules. It's not. It's like holding women to absolutely no standards. It's not. It's like really, women are, to be honest, ruleless. Right? Women think that they can do whatever they want.
Extreme example, we're looking at Iran in 1970s and...
Oh, God. This is the problem, right? When talking about the West, you want to use nations, countries that honestly don't share Western values, don't share Western ideology to prove your point. It doesn't prove your point. Because one, you don't live there. Two, they're not our country. They don't share Western values.
Women in parliament and women walking around is part of the sexual revolution in miniskirts. And now, women in Afghanistan now have rules and they have structure. They can't stand near a window. They can't leave the house without a man. They can't they can't use tools to me, I'm immediately like, firstly, our society has plenty of structure. We have a lot of structure. We all have to work to make a living. We are all encouraged into monogamous relationships, and there's a feel that you're successful if you find the one and get married and have 2.4 children. There's so much structure.
Not really. And since stats and studies are showing that women are actually pushing out marriage, where either they're not marrying at all or they're marrying quite late into their life. Okay. Children wise, at most, some of them are having one or none. So no, that is changed.
In our lives, there's very little time for relaxation or even considering what we really might want to do. I would be very intrigued to know what you mean by women should have rules.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So first of all, I don't agree with you. If I can just say that I don't agree that we are encouraging monogamy. I think we're encouraging polygamy. And I don't mean marriage polygamy. I mean multiple partners. Young people are hooking up. I wrote an article for the Institute for Family.
Real rain, exactly. I agree. Monogamy is basically made fun of in the mainstream. Next example, Love Island?
Studies on why and the statistics on the hookup culture and what it's doing to young people in terms of their mental health. It's causing them to feel more depressed, more anxious, more embarrassed, having more regrets, self-esteem issues. It's got
Studies show that hookup culture can negatively affect mental health and self-esteem, but mainly when the encounters are emotionally unfulfilling or driven by pressure rather than personal choice. First of all, personal choice, I can't really imagine that scenario because if you're actually doing hookup culture, it's personal choice in my opinion. But I believe also doing hookup culture is usually emotionless, right? You think the person is attractive, so you go for it. That's pretty much it.
some major implications, and we're talking the statistics say 72 to 82%, 72% of young men and 82% of women, young women are feeling depressed and anxious after these casual sexual encounters. Tinder has an ad that says, meet the love of your night. What it does is it takes something so sacred and intimate, and it turns it into something not just casual, but it turns it into something irrelevant, unimportant, and dangerous, if you ask me, emotionally dangerous. And it can be physically dangerous. If you're having casual sex, you could get a sexually transmitted disease. AIDS is still around. I think in a way, what we've taught our kids and what I encourage the young people that I work with is that experiment with sex. Care about the people that you're experimenting with. Find people who care about you and who you care about. So that structure.
Can I just counter about this sort of idyllic option of monogamy? In the United Kingdom, the police receive a domestic abuse-related call every 30 seconds. Yet it's estimated that less than 24% of domestic abuse crime is reported to the police. 1 in 4 women in England and Wales will experience domestic abuse in her lifetime. On average, nearly 2 women are killed a week in this country. And I know that America has a similar story, but probably worse because there's guns. This is around the world. It's the same in Australia. It is not an either or. It's not that women were so happy and fulfilled in the 1950s because their husbands would go to work. And I mean, watch Mad Men, which is it's a sort of researched idea of how things often were for women then and men, and how, Don Draper would go off into the city. He would have a fulfilling career. Then he would sleep with any number of women and come home to his wife who knew he was having affairs, who could sense it, who could vibe it, who could smell the perfume, and had to just put up with it until she couldn't any longer. Mm. And she was at risk of STDs. Because
Do you believe most men were like Don Draper? It's like, why? I hate this mindset of a lot of women. You want to use the exceptions or the minority to judge the majority.
He was going out and doing whatever he wanted. The idea that a sort of monogamy is this utopia, and since we've gone into
No, it has been proven. It has been proven that monogamous relationships, marriage, has been a net positive for society comparative to, let's say, just polygamy or casual encounters. It has been shown, okay? It has been shown that it's been proved more better results for people in general.
to a more hookup culture.
Because nothing in life is a utopian ideology or situation.
I still think there's a hell of a lot of pressure for people to find the right one. Yes, people hook up before they find the right one, but there is pressure to have the rom-com ending. Most people, if they're hooking up, are hooking up to have sexual satisfaction while they are looking for a longer-term relationship. Or they're not, and they're really happy single, and they're finding fulfillment. And that is...
They're not. She literally said that a vast majority of them are actually not being fulfilled. They're not fulfilled. I mean, like, literally, Mad Men also took place during the time period of the Vietnam War. And yes, I mean, seriously, that like barely mentioned the men at war. Again, we have evolved. We have moved on from from those times. So it's drastically different.
The spaciousness and the freedom and the autonomy to do that. I love that women can choose that now. This settling for someone who's not good enough for me, or it doesn't suit me, or it doesn't fit me, doesn't have to happen for me anymore. I can live my full self, and maybe my career is more important to me or fulfilling, or my friendships or my desire for travel. I love that we have options. I want the women, what they have, all the options that they have. If they want to be single, they want to hook up, if they're looking, but in the meantime having that sexual freedom, I want them to have it all. But if what they want is this monogamy that you're talking about, to find the love of their life and settle down and have 2 children or whatever they want, I want them to have that too.
Deborah, can I ask, do you think that there is a cost to hookup culture and casual sex in regards to the implications it has on women, as Erica was implying, psychologically? And is that more adverse in women than men?
I think human beings can suffer from too much choice. Like, we know that if you put 800 varieties of jam out on a supermarket shelf, people will buy less jam than if you put out 8, because they get confused and they just think, oh God, I don't know, none of it then, and they walk away. I think the fact that we have young people sitting in a bar on a Hinge date, and while that person goes to the bar, they're like, what else is out there? I think that's bad for human beings. Mm-hmm. I think that is bad for...
This is the thing. Feminists don't care about human beings. They care about themselves. The feminist ideology is, honestly, I just care about myself. That is it. I don't care. I don't care for the success of human beings. I don't care for the success of you. I don't. I just don't want to be shackled, right? I don't want to be shackled to nothing. That is it. So for her, right, feminists, they promote all this like, oh, sexual revolution, women having options. It's only because of themselves, not because of women in general. Because, to be honest, you don't care if women succeed. You don't. You only care if you. Because if you did care, you would care if the humanity succeeds. But women don't. Women don't care if humanity succeeds or not. They don't care. I mean, it shows that if you think past yourself, right? If you think past yourself, you would see that there's benefits to what society has done. Okay? There is benefits to it. She basically said hookup culture bad in the longest way possible. She did!
Women, for men, for non-binary people, that's bad for everybody.
But this sort of sacredness, Erica was alluding to a sacredness of sex itself.
Yes, I think that is not a thing, that we are somehow finding women find sex more sacred than men.
But I didn't say that women
Yeah.
find it. I think it's sacred for men and women. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were speaking to sort of sacredness to it. And I know, Louise, in your work, you've talked about how there's different implications for men and women as it relates to casual sex.
So I think that hookup culture basically is better suited to the average preferences of men than of women. So the average preferences of men are more likely to be towards the...
It is more suitable, right, to the highly desirable men. It is more suitable to the more successful men, right? Hookup culture is great for the players, the bad boys, the Pookies, the Chads, the Tyrones, right? Men with money, men with good genetics, men with good talking game. It's not good for men in general. Hookup culture isn't good for men in general, right? Because having a high body count isn't good for men in general. And to be honest, men in general, most men, average men, cannot unless you pay for it, you can't really truly get a high body count, right? For men, you can't truly get a high body count unless you pay for it. So it's not really that beneficial.
having lots of partners, jumping into bed really quickly, into the spectrum, basically. And this is what psychologists call sociosexuality. So men are generally more unrestricted in their sociosexuality than are women. And hookup culture favors the highly sociosexual. And actually, you can see this if you look at campus dating cultures and sexual cultures, which are interesting because in a way, university campuses are almost a closed environment. You've got all these young, horny people hanging out, not very much to do, and like interacting with one another. And on campuses which have more men than women, so the women are the scarcer resource, basically, assuming everyone's heterosexual, right? They tend to have more conservative sexual cultures, so more monogamy, less hooking up, people wait longer to have sex, etc. On campuses where there are fewer men and more women, which increasingly is true of all universities, actually,
60
because
to 40,
exactly, you have the opposite. You have more hookup culture because basically the men are the scarce resource and they can set the terms, and men prefer more hookup culture. There are obviously exceptions, this is all true, but
This is a thing where the Chads, the Tyrones, they don't complain about women. They don't complain about feminism. They don't talk about it because they benefit from it. They benefit from feminism. They do. Women that don't want to marry, women that, want to promote, sexual revolution, perfect. Women that would easily abort, great.
at the population level, I think that's really good evidence that actually women en masse don't like hookup culture and are actually engaging with it because they sort of have to.
What you're talking about there is very young women who have just left home. It's their first exploration into sex. Now, if you ask a 32-year-old woman in London who knows her body, who knows her preferences, who knows what kind of man turns her on, who can talk about these things and communicate, and you ask her, do you regret that hookup? She'll be like, no, I worked really hard this week. I was literally looking forward to it, and it was wonderful. If you ask that same woman, do you regret any of the hookups you had when you were a fresher? She'll be like, oh my God, I didn't know myself. I didn't know how to ask what I wanted. The boys were terrible at it because they didn't know themselves. I don't think universities are a great place to get this information because that is when you are literally just exploring and going, is this anything? And we're all too embarrassed to say what we want or to say how that we like. Oh. So you've got to put into that mix. Boys are told, you got to get laid. You got to get laid. Otherwise, you're not cool. Young women are told, you don't want too high a body count. You're going to get slut shamed. So you're talking about 18-year-olds who don't know themselves yet, and you're saying, when is the sea?
You're talking about 18-year-olds that don't know themselves yet.
What we are currently experiencing in our sexual culture where, yes, there's some structure, yes, there are some rules, but we are much, much more sexually, not just liberal, but even libertine than say, the sexual culture of our grandparents or whatever. I think everyone ought to be able to agree on that. There clearly is a change now in the sexual culture from previous generations, and it's mostly to do with the pill, as I argue. But
Yeah, there are people in college that has more sexual history than 30-year-olds.
the expectation is kind of, as you say, that you just have to figure it out. Like, there isn't a very clear template. Yes, maybe there isn't. I think that Deborah, you're actually right that most people do in the end aspire to monogamy and having children and everything. But there's also an expectation that you're supposed to experiment a bit in the meantime, and it's kind of actually weird to be a virgin on your wedding night. And I think that, yes, I mean, girls have to tread this really difficult tightrope where on the one hand they are at risk of slut shaming, but they're also at risk of being called frigid. If there's, I mean, they are much, much more at risk actually of being called frigid than in previous generations. And I mean, the idea that we can escape from social judgment around our sexual choices is anyway, I don't think it's very wise to subject girls to this experience, is how I would put it. To say that you have to.
Oh, no duh, right? 100%. I think that women in the red views everything through the lens of herself, and the other two women seem to actually look at facts and stats. 100%. I think Red Door, what is up, my sister? What is up? I think the other two look at the bigger picture. They look at humanity themselves, right? They look at humanity, right? They look at people. While the other woman, she looks throughout her own history.
Go through the hookup culture.
I know
Go
people
through the
who are
mill.
opting out. I know young people who are
But it's
absolutely
hard.
opting out. They're
No,
not
I know,
no
but
freedom at all.
I'm going to agree with her and say freedom has become a pressure. There's become a societal pressure to be free. So
I know
it's-
many young people who are opting out of the apps.
Okay,
who
I'm
don't want that.
a therapist, and I see so many young people, and I give lectures, and people come up to me. So I can say, and I write books about adolescence, and I'm going to say that mostly the term hookup culture is used between 15 and 30. So you're correct in saying a 32-year-old woman should have the right to have sex with whoever the hell she wants to have sex with. And I'm right there with you. She should have choice, whatever. But young women, young men who are developing emotionally, mentally,
should not have the right.
No, that's not
shouldn't have
no,
the
no.
right.
Let me. Can I finish?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Just,
Sorry. So you interrupted, so I didn't get to
I'm
finish.
so sorry.
Okay. So they're more vulnerable. They are more vulnerable emotionally to what the hookup culture does to them. There's a lot of research to say that it causes loneliness, depression, anxiety, tons of regret, embarrassment, shame, self-esteem issues. And so, of course, we want freedom. In fact, I'm probably more in agreement with you on most things than you think.
This is a thing where the problem is, like, you know what, to develop an understanding of what you want and what you don't want, right? You don't need to have sex with 10, 20, 30 different people to do that, okay? You don't need that, right? You can be in long-term committed relationships, 2, 3, maybe 4, right? And you can figure that out. No, I think you can figure that out after 2, right? I think you can figure out what you want and what you don't want after 2 good long-term relationships. You could relatively figure it out. So, to be honest, having more structure in dating is better than just complete blind freedom. Right? Just have sex with a whole bunch of men, and that'll help you when you're in your 30s to figure out what you want. No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't. Because again, you just went past the needed threshold. Right? Having a body count of 50, 100 really does not change in your desires of what you want in a man if you had a body count of, let's say, 5. It doesn't change that drastic. True. In my country, it's 2. I mean, yeah. To be honest, it's like, English, what is up, my brother? I love you, my brother. Thank you for being here. More than 2 already, red flag. It is. I mean, this is a thing where you don't need an insane amount of, sexual partners to actually know what you want. You don't. It actually shows more that you don't know what you want. That's why you have an insane roster, an insane body count.
But in this, I say that freedom can become its own prison. So if you think about the early feminists, the really early feminists, Mary Wollstonecraft, Mary Shelley, those women were fighting patriarchy. They were fighting a system that said they had to be a certain way. So of course I don't accept what Iran does to women. I mean, that, you know, but.
Big bars. What is up, my brother? I love you. I love you. Thank you guys for being here. I want to say, right, tonight, it's a long live stream, right? I started early. I'm going to be doing 2 big long videos, right? This one, I'm watching this, I'm reacting to this long video, and I'm going to be doing a reaction to this whole controversy that's happening in Minnesota. So I'm checking that out, right? You know why majority is 2? It's because they are 304 shaming in my country. Asian countries would do that, right? Asian countries do that. So I agree with it. I do agree with it.
What's happened is if the pendulum swings too far, you have a different kind of patriarchy on the other side. You know, we say the extreme left and the extreme right actually meet in the middle. And so have we just we never want to take choice away. The idea of taking choice away from women to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with, that's not the point of this. It's, have we created a society which pressures young women in its own way to be promiscuous, to have lots of experiences? It's not all glorious, freedom. It is glorious, but it's also not all glorious. And it can be a pressure on young people to get rid of their virginity, to have lots of sexual experiences. And it's not all it's cracked up to be for them. It really isn't. In terms of their mental health, again, they are more, we say 9 to 25, really 20.
You know, even when I was young, there wasn't like a big, at least not as popular a hookup culture either, right? Young people would form friendships and do other activities. I agree. We don't have hookup culture too. We do have for sure, but rarely. Yeah, rarely. It's not a flex to be a 304. Exactly, it's not.
27 in young men is the second critical period of brain development, where they are very susceptible to their relational experiences and their environment. And so in that period of development, which is mostly what we use the term hookup culture for, it's in that very young developmental period. It's not just in college, it's throughout their 20s, you know, until that woman becomes 32. That's a very vulnerable brain. And so we have created...
Mr. Smith, what is up, my brother? I love seeing you.
A culture that confuses that brain, that offers too many choices, that pressures them into having multiple partners and many experiences, and leaves them feeling empty and lonely.
Can I just say, though, again to the time traveler piece, I did not, you recommend, Louise, because I heard you talking on this podcast before, that people don't have sex till they're engaged. But if you're engaged, the next step is marriage. So presumably you're going to marry that person, i.e. you're going to sleep with, the first person you sleep with, if you take that advice, is your partner. So you're going to have one sexual partner for life. I do not recommend that, ideally, because I came from a religion where that was the only option. And because I didn't meet anybody, I atrophied. I had no intimacy. I felt so lonely. Now, you're saying sometimes people have a hookup and they feel lonely afterwards. Totally, of course. That's happened to everyone who's ever had casual sex in any quantity, where you feel a bit like, oh, that didn't fill me up. It's like, you know, when they say you go and have a Chinese meal and you feel hungry half. There's only options. And what happened to me, because I had no option, I had no autonomy, I became more and more atrophied, more and more lonely, more and more empty, more and more disconnected from myself. To this day, I struggle with that. I struggle with intimacy, because we were in such a culture of you can't have sex before you get married, that you didn't really make eye contact with people. You know, normal teenagers will sit on each other's laps and just experiment a little bit, or they might have a little kiss or whatever. If you don't have anything like that, you can't really look at people properly. And however old you think I was when I lost my virginity, I was older. And it was tough. Because if you're losing your virginity very late, the person you're losing it with...
Zyrax, what's up, my sister? What is up? Thank you for being here. Missed ya. Stay tuned for the Wednesday's live stream. I'm going to be doing a Jubilee video on Dean Withers' debate with some some right wingers. So it'll be fun, right? I think it will be interesting. We'll definitely, hopefully, it will be some good debate topics.
Has had a more regular, healthy, in my opinion, sexual development. They've had their first girlfriend or boyfriend. They've experienced a few things. It's still hard for me to say what I want. So I don't.
This is the thing. This woman, she's using. Yeah. Dean, it's on the Jubilee thing. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be watching it. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I mean, it was an okay day, right? It was okay. Hope you had a good Christmas with you and your family, right? Hope you had a good Christmas with you and your family. It's the Jubilee video recently came out. I'm going to be watching it. I think hopefully it'll be fun. I haven't really watched Dean's videos, so I don't really know the kid like that, but hopefully it'll be some good debate topics.
Recommend the other.
Oh, I want to say this woman is honestly, the sad part is that this woman is using her life to pretty much dictate how other people should be, right? So yeah, it's faulty.
The thing either, which is don't have sex with anyone until you're prepared at least to marry them.
I've got a graph here that somewhat dovetails into this conversation about when you should have sex and also marriage as a subject. And it shows that from the 1970s, roughly women would get married at about 21 years old. And now, this graph will be on the screen, it's about 30. Men used to get married at around 23 years old, and now it's just over 30, which is a pretty crazy climb. So it feels to me if the sexual revolution took place in around this era where we see this rapid climb, maybe the two are somewhat interlinked, i.e. the age in which we'd be getting married or having sex under Louise's, potential advice that it's better to wait.
It's because of the pill. That's why that happened. Mm-hmm. It's because it used to be that if you were having sex with someone, you were risking pregnancy. And now that's not, it is still true because actually all contraception fails and something like half of women in this country get pregnant didn't mean to or whatever. So the idea that it's foolproof is not true. But what the pill did when it arrived on the scene in the late 60s was it gave the illusion that sex was consequence-free. And it isn't on a physical level, not really. It's less consequential than it was because of the pill. But the physical consequences are still there. But I think just as importantly, it became no less emotionally consequential. Just because you're on the pill or using condoms or whatever, your mind, I'm thinking particularly of women who, as we talked about, bond more quickly, your mind still thinks that this person could well become the father of my child. You are still experiencing sex as in the way that all of our ancestors.
One of the things that, Real Rain said, the pill also changes women's hormones. One of the interesting things I learned about that is that women on the pill can be attracted to a certain type of man, right? And then the same women off of the pill can be attracted to a completely different type of man. I thought that was insane. I thought that was crazy. I didn't realize how drastic the pill, would affect women's mindset, women's, views. I thought that was interesting. Women owner respects consequences. I agree.
Just did for all of human history up until 5 minutes ago, until we invented this new technology. And I think that's why getting pregnant is an extraordinarily consequential thing for women. It's dangerous, it's difficult, it's a huge, investment of their time and of their life. And you don't want to get pregnant by some bozo, right? That's why women tend to be very selective about who they're willing to have sex with and feel really bad. And
you doubt that? Again, that's what I've heard, right? That's what I've heard. So I don't know how true it could be, right? I've never met, I never met a woman personally that's been the case, but that's what I've heard in studies. But I mean,
I've got to say, leaving aside words like sacred, because they're obviously difficult because of the religious implications. I think that we should, as feminists, describe sex as at least special, like having some kind of special status. It's not like other kinds of socializing. It's not like having a conversation with someone or playing tennis with someone. And we can tell that it's
Been doing it wrong.
well, but we can tell.
Well, we could call it one of the most intimate experiences you can have as a human being.
And that's why rape is so bad, right? That's why feminists are
because it
so...
bastardizes the most intimate experience by making it into by turning it into violence.
Rape is worse than theft, for instance, or rape is worse than assault, like non-sexual assault. And the law recognizes that, and we all socially recognize that because there is something uniquely...
really, I mean, like I never looked into it. That's just I've heard a few people said that's a study. So, but yeah, I mean, like again, people said it's there's some data on it, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Intimate and therefore uniquely violating about having sex without consent. And I think that it's really hard actually to hold those two things simultaneously in mind and say sex is unimportant. It's basically just like a skill set that you can practice on other people, that it's a leisure activity, all this kind of...
It trivializes it.
Right. And then also say, but consent is extraordinarily important. Like, why? Do you not see the contradiction there?
Autonomy. If I want it, if I want somebody, especially penetrative sex, you're talking about rape, you're talking about penetrative sex, there's nothing worse than somebody inside your body violating your actual insides. Nothing worse than that. That does not mean that women do not have sexual urges that are exciting. No, I know. I'm finished sentence. I wasn't allowed to interrupt. That women don't have sexual urges that are just about attraction and a moment and fun and play. Play is so important to human beings. When I left that cult, it took me a long time and a number of different sexual experiences to find out what kind of sexuality. They may not be sexually compatible with you. And you may not know how to communicate well with them and end up having a life of very boring missionary position sex. If you encourage young people just to have sex with the first person they meet and stay with that person, which I'm not saying you're saying, but I am saying if you don't have sex before you're engaged, well, engagement leads to marriage, you may end up with very little sexual fulfillment compared to what you could have had. You might not. You might get lucky.
How would you know what you could have had? How would you know what you could have? This is sometimes I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous where now you should be able to get with someone that you can able have good communication with. Someone that wants to care about you, that cares about your desires, your wants, your needs, whatever. So you should be able to be with someone that actually wants to hear you out, right? If you don't feel sexually fulfilled, well, you should be able to talk to that person and try new things, right? Figure out what would make you more sexually fulfilled.
The first person but I would say that is unlikely. And I would say that the reason that the pill changed how much sex women had and with what variety of partners is because it gave them autonomy. It gave them agency. Suddenly, I can. And guess what? When I can, I choose to try. When you give women the choice, which the pill did, to have some experience, we see that most women want some experience, want to find themselves sexually, want to feel, oh, this or not that, or yeah, or oh my God, this one. This is amazing. I could be with this guy forever. We hit it off. He's great in bed. We're working together. Oh, we've got a little problem now, but we'll work through it together because we love each other. Most people do some version of that. And maybe they hit a point in that monogamy where this relationship isn't working anymore, or something terrible happens, and they have another go at that. That's a large pattern. Now, how much of that is because that's what society expects? I don't know. But
this is the thing where she doesn't use actual data, right? I mean, you could Google it, right? No, research doesn't universally show that women have more sexual fulfillment with many partners. Okay, I mean, like, where's she getting that? Okay, if you have a lot of partners, you can find your sexual fulfillment, right? There's no research that will show that. This is the thing where it's not the quantity, right? It's not the quantity of partners; it's the quality. Now, it's not just like, I think it's like, because it comes to, there's emotional connection, like women, like foreplay, right? It's not because a man has a D the size of an arm that makes her amazing, right? So it's like emotional connection, good communication. There's so much more to it if it's a more loving relationship. But here's a woman that, to be honest, a life filled of trauma. She constantly said most of her young adult, or her childhood and young adulthood, was in a sex cult, right? She would probably have a lot of traumatic experiences. So really, it's really just honestly, it's a very disingenuous argument.
That is what most people tend to do. So for me, saying that because one night at a music festival, I had a really passionate, exciting encounter with somebody who I never saw again, that I am somehow minimizing rape, is very disturbing.
Okay, so Zarek says, but how do you find or know what quality is without quantity? Here's the thing, where if what you think is quality, right, is the size of a man's D, instead of, what kind of emotional connection you have with a partner. If you can have a partner that, actually cares about your wants and needs, okay? There's more to it. You can figure certain things out, right? You can figure out, do they like, let's try different styles, right? Do you like it from behind? Do you like it, cowgirl, whatever, right? You can figure that out, even if it's two virgins, right? It's determined by the person, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, if you had 100 partners, you're going to find, because you had 100 partners, now you experience all the quantity to find quality? No, you haven't. Because, I think a lot of research shows that, you get less and less satisfaction. Because imagine this, right? You like the D size of this man. You like the tentativeness of this man. You like the foreplay of this man. You like this. You like this quality of that man, right? You like the the tongue of this man. It doesn't mean it. So it makes it worse, where you see so many different types, right? So many different qualities that you like, but not necessarily love. And then you are fooled into thinking that you're going to find that one man that has it all. But a lot of women, or a lot of people, find that you can't find one person that has everything, that has it all. And then you're going to live a life where you're just completely unsatisfied, right? So really, even having quantity does not lead you to quality. It doesn't. At least a lot of times, and studies have shown, less satisfaction, right? Less satisfaction. The more partners you have, a lot of times it leads to less satisfaction. So you will have the desire to honestly cheat because you're not satisfied with this partner. You can't find satisfaction in one partner because that one partner might not have it all. So again, this is probably the craziness of freedom, where you expect that this one person should have 100% what you want. That's not life. Life, to realize, is that one person cannot have 100% of what you want. Period.
Can I just interject and just say that you're right in turning to me and saying I didn't mean that you have to marry your first partner, but there's something very important about the emotional connection. And that's coming from maybe me being a therapist and knowing and seeing the pain that the young people who come to me are in when there's no emotional connection and they give their bodies over. By the way, young men too. I think it's shifting, actually.
And I'll say this, right? I've said this always. I always stick with this. I think body count is not good for neither man or women. I think having a high body count is not good for men or women. So a man, let's say this, a man that's like has, because you see this, players, right? Players, entertainers. This is why a lot of these men cannot settle down, because not one woman can satisfy his whole needs. One woman cannot satisfy his whole needs, right? And this is why these types of men cannot settle down, because they've been with too many women. So one woman is never good enough. So a high body count is not a good thing. Quantity is not a good thing for most human beings, because you are overstimulated. The dopamine effect of, like, let's say this, vanilla sex with one woman is never good enough anymore, because you had like 20, 30, crazy ass, insane sex with 20, 30 different partners already. So vanilla sex is meaningless. It doesn't fulfill you at all. So you're going to not desire it. So that's the thing. I think body count is not good for neither person. I know. It's about the motion of the ocean, not the size of the boat. But what if I easily get motion sickness because your boat is too light and can't hold down the strong waves? In my opinion, how would you know? Right? I mean, like, I don't, because, like, this is right. I have dated like in my life two virgins, right? My one ex was crazy in bed. She never complained about the motion of the ocean. And I'm not saying that, I have a mandingo down there, right? She scratched up my back. She's bruised me up. I mean, we've had crazy, sex, and she's definitely the one that got away. My fault. It was my fault. But yeah. But you got to think about it in the mindset of a virgin, okay? How would you know that, the motion of the ocean, right? Or whatever isn't good enough, isn't good. You if it feels good, it feels good, right? If it doesn't, then it doesn't, period. You're not comparing to, oh, you know what? That felt better than this. You're not.
It's interesting what I'm seeing in my practice. Young men are more vulnerable than women now. Women have taken on the role that young men used to have emotionally. And so, women have all these choices, and now they're leaving young men in the dust, and the young men are feeling lonely, and they have sex with a girl and they want to date her, and she says, no, I'm sleeping with 5 guys at the same time. And these are kids in their 20s. But sex is better with emotional connection. That doesn't mean you have to marry the first guy that you have sex with. I also want to say that there is something called neurotic repetition. A lot of the early feminists.
Zurex, it's always the crazy one in the bed that gets away. No. That was just one great quality she has, right? She was a lot of things that was amazing about her, right? That made her the one that got away, okay? Not just because she was crazy in bed, right? That was just one thing.
Had a lot of trauma. You had trauma. A lot of people have had trauma. And what happens with trauma is it tends to be like PTSD. If we have disconnection early on, or abuse, or violence against us, attachment disorders, as I've talked about in your other podcasts, when you're very young, it gets reenacted and repeated throughout your life over and over and over and over again. So interestingly, the early feminists were mostly traumatized women. If you look at the histories of them, they had physically abusive fathers, alcohol.
You know what, Zyrax, I do want to give you respect, right? You and Alan are one of my favorites, right? I love you're challenging me, right? I love it, right? So I want to give you your flowers. I love you, my sister, right? Know that, okay? I do love you, and you're amazing. You're an amazing person. So thank you for entering my life. Thank you for entering my channel. I love you.
Alcoholic fathers. They had uncles who raped them. They had, terrible, even their mothers too. Just really abusive parents, but mostly the men in their life were horrible. And so a lot of this whole experience depends on where you come from and what you had. If you've had good models, I mean, it's why I sort of talk about, I'm writing a book about divorce. Why am I writing a book about divorce if I believe in relationships? Because divorce is going to happen and we need to help parents to know how to raise healthy children in spite of it. But relationships matter. They matter in the raising of children. So when we have a disconnected society where we say relationships don't matter, just sex matters. Sex out of a relationship. And you have the daily comings and goings of it's the road towards relationships. And you are not going to turn towards men. If men traumatized you and you saw a man abuse your mother, of course you're not going to want men in your life. So a lot of it, I think the feminist movement does something, which it's first of all,
That's why, we never recognize, right? The people, particularly women, who has these vitriols, right? These viewpoints about men are usually traumatized women, right? Are usually broken women. Okay. This is why I've always prefaced my arguments or my viewpoints is that I don't hate women, right? I don't even use my personal life as necessarily a basis for my judgment or my opinions about women. I don't even use that because I think it's unfair for me to go about an opinion based on my life, okay, based on my life, because then I feel like the argument is weak. So I try my best. I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I do, depends on the situation, but I try not to use my personal life as the basis of my opinion on anything I make, because then you're clouded, right? Your opinions are clouded. So this is why a lot of these women, their opinions have flaws in it because you could see the trauma, right? You can see the hurt. You can see the brokenness.
I'm going to say it's done a lot of good. I wouldn't be here. None of us would be here without it. Those women that it distorted a lot of the importance of relationships and how important male and female relationships are. I'll stop there because I've talked too much. But
I've been thinking a lot about it recently, and I just find it interesting as a subject. So I think that actually a better way of thinking about agency than is this binary thing that humans have agency, etc., is it's kind of more of a personality trait. I think that some people are very agentic. Some people are able to set their minds on doing something and they just make it happen. Those people are very well suited to making their own decisions. Those people hate the idea of any kind of limits on their freedom. But they are unusual people. Most people actually, they go with the flow. They kind of do what other people around them are doing. They drift a little bit. They're a little bit passive. They kind of make decisions based on what seems normal. They follow the template as it appears to them in their moment. But, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that those people are more vulnerable to bad scripts. Mm-hmm. The problem with the sexual liberation narrative is it assumes that everyone is highly agentic. It assumes that everyone is capable of being faced with all these various choices and saying, I'm going to choose this one and that one and making it happen, rather than what I think is more realistic, and particularly when you're talking about young people, and I think even more talking about young women. I think young women are particularly mimetic, and particularly, there are studies showing this, that women are, for instance, more likely to imitate other people's body language.
Women are more socially attuned and mimetic than other groups. They're more likely to mirror body language and adopt slang and respond to social cues, making them quicker to adapt to group dynamics and trends. Interesting.
Language, they're more likely.
This is why I find it funny, right? There was a video a while ago that said men date, right? Men date for the validations of other men. They don't, right? They don't. Because they don't necessarily, again, right? Here's a study, right? Saying that women are more in tune to, follow trends, adapt to trends, group dynamics. Men are not. Now, in general, right? Of course, there's some pockets or some certain men that would, I wouldn't date a woman if other men don't find her attractive. Okay. But to be honest, I've never, and I know plenty of men that is like, oh, I don't want to date her because no one finds her attractive. No, they don't care. If I find her attractive, that is good enough for me. Oh, what's the video you're watching? This is a Diary of CEO, feminist women versus non-feminist women. Yo, Alan, definitely join Wednesday stream. I'm going to Zyrax, right? You would definitely want you to be there. We'll definitely have some. Hopefully we can have some good debates, right? I'm going to be on Wednesday stream. I'm going to be watching a Dean's Wither recent debate. Okay, so I think it'll be fun. I think this is interesting, right? I really do think this is interesting. So I like this video. But Wednesday, I think it's going to be fun.
They pick up slang more quickly than men do. Like young women are very socially attuned, like more than any other group. They're very alive to what's high status and low status and like keen to imitate it. You also see this with fashion, all sorts of things, right? I think to just say to those young women, good news, you can choose anything you want. You can do anything you want. Obviously, if you are highly agentic, I think you mentioned, Deborah, young people who are just like, no, I'm not into this, off the apps, not doing it. They're highly agentic. That's very impressive, but it's rare. Like most people actually are basically going to do what their peers do. And so that's why
Is sexual freedom a good thing? So for me, as a person who believes in accountability, and I don't believe in not having freedom. So, oh damn, I'm gonna be out of town. It's all good, right? It's all good. I might be able to join for a bit, but either way, out New Year's. Hope you're doing well. No, yeah, that's all good. It's all good. Oh, Zyrax says says hi, right? She wanted to say hi to Alan. So Zyrax says hi to you, my brother. All right. I hope you have a good New Year. I hope you guys have a good New Year if you're not gonna make it, right? Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yes, is sexual freedom a good thing? This is a thing where I don't believe in restricting people's freedoms, right? So, but to say it is a good thing or not, I don't really think it's a good thing. Because I think there has been bad results thanks to it, but it is what it is.
I think just saying give everyone choice and kind of close the lid and say good luck. I think that doesn't work. I think that actually we need to be a bit more prescriptive.
Women were less agentic before the sexual revolution. Overall, as a population, we are more agentic now. We have more agency.
What's up, JH? It's the cheerleader effect. If a guy has tons of women or dudes talking to him, the other women want to know who that guy is. No. This is a thing where, again, it shows you that women, right? Women are more in tune to it, right? That's what they were saying. So I think some men more would date a woman based on other women, right? Because it attracts other women and stuff like that. So men would do that more compared to if men don't care if other men like it or not.
And we flex that agency more frequently. If you are worried that young women seem to you to be mimetic,
I do agree, right? So it's not a good thing only because we haven't been using the greatest discretion or discernment. I agree. That's why I say I don't necessarily want to hold back anyone's freedom, but I don't think it's a good thing because even with so much freedom, women have not done better, right? Like as time goes on, right? People have gotten more free than ever before, right? Today, in today's day and age, right? In the West, we are more free than any person in our history. And yet there are so many stats and metrics that we are not any better than people of the past.
Influenced by their peer group, then we need education for what's happening in that peer group. I don't disagree with you that thinking about intimacy, thinking about, do I really want to do this with my body? Do I want to let this boy touch me here or there, or this girl, do this or that with me or whatever? Of course. But that's education so they can. We desperately need that.
That's what we're doing here, right? Or trying to.
Yeah.
But rather than saying they need rules, I would say they need to be further attuned to their own desires, their own body, their own environments.
Steve, what is up, my brother? What is up? Thank you for being here, my brother.
Relationships, how long does it feel right to me? Listening to my own body, listening to my own mind, having confidants that they can talk to who are older and more responsible if they don't feel comfortable talking to their parents, because some kids, of course, teenagers don't necessarily go, Mom, I had this urge. Do you provide other people in their community who they might have that conversation with? Sure, our girls and our boys, it's better for them not to until they're engaged and then just stick with that person for life, ideally. I fear that is taking us back generations, and women 100% were not happier then. They put up with more.
I do want to separate.
There's no metric for that opinion, right? She said women today women back in the day weren't happy. There's no real metric for that, okay? Now, there are some studies that are showing that women today seem less happy, right? They seem less happy comparative to women of the past. So there are studies that are showing that, again, I never say any study is 100%, the end all to be all, but there are some studies that do show that potentially women are less happy than before. More women are on antidepressants or some form of medication thanks to some form of mental irregularity, right? i.e. maybe depression. It's not freedom that is the problem. It's freedom that is the problem, though. Well, it's not okay. It's not freedom that's the problem, though. It's the amount of choices that is. I agree. The amount of choices has become a big problem. I do agree with that. Social media has opened ourselves to the world, right?
Young people from what you were talking about.
Sism, what is up, my brother? Thank you for being here. Feminism teaching young girls to engage in hypergamy and hookup culture, roster culture, situationships, yes. But for me, hypergamy only works for women with shallow values. That's true.
Adult women. I want to separate them because they're not the same species. There's so much development going on in adolescence. And adolescence, as I said, goes on till 25. So by the time you're an adult woman, you are, for the most part, developed. By the time you get to 32, there's going to be stuff going on, but the major part of your personality and character development is pretty much set. And so that developing period is really more my concern. It's not that I'm not concerned about my older patients who come to me and talk about how free sex and, multiple partners makes them feel good. I would say, great, it's your choice. If that makes you feel good, wonderful. But in young people where they're developing, I agree with you that we need more education. I'm all for more education, but I'm for so we have so much sex education right now in schools, too much sex education, if you ask me. We're teaching 9-year-olds about anal sex. We're teaching them about genital warts.
Really? I mean, I gotta ask my daughter. I gotta ask my daughter, but if that's what they're teaching, oh God, seriously.
That's not something a 9-year-old needs to know, in school. So, but I think we're not teaching them about emotional connection, about relationships, about family, about the arc of a life that if...
Here's the thing, right? So Zyrax said, shaming hypergamy is telling women she should settle for scraps. Why the extreme, right? See, this is my problem with modern day feminism, right? This is my problem with modern day feminism. So again, this is what Zyrax says, right? Shaming hypergamy is telling women you should settle for scraps. So hypergamy is essentially, let's keep it a little bit basic, right? Let's keep it basic. So hypergamy as in, let's say, men that are wealthy or 6 figures or whatever, okay? So top tier men, right? Hypergamy. Scraps is what? Bottom tier men? This is the problem I find with so many feminist mindset, where you negate average, you negate the middle. So many women nowadays, in their mind, is that it's either you're rich or you're poor. That's it, right? In so many women's mind, it's either you're rich or you're poor. Nothing in between. Okay? A man that's in between, that he's stable, he works hard, he makes an average living, right? 50, 60, maybe 70, okay? An average earning. But those men are invisible. It's either you're making like 20, 30K a year, or you're making 6-figure a year, right? That's what women see. That's what women, their arguments are based off, not the men in the middle. And that's the problem, okay? Not saying that, okay, if we shame hypergamy, now you only have the option for the men that makes like nothing, the men that can't pay their bills, the men that lives in their mother's basement. No, we're not talking about those men, right? That's the problem. This is why I've said this. My channel isn't really about talking about high value men. It's average men. We constantly negate average men. That's it. Average men. Right? So that's the problem. That's a problem that so many women have forgotten or neglect. How about a man that can pay his own bills, that can take care of himself, that doesn't need you for any kind of financial help? Yeah, I mean, thank you, Cyrex. So I take back my statement. I got you. I got you now. Yes, that is what I mean.
If you want to be single and you want to have multiple partners and you want to be free, that's your choice. I have no problem with that.
You know what? Again, I want to give my sister props. Right? I love it. I love that. You know, it's more about just the intellect.
But we're not teaching about the importance of connection and emotional connection and building families. And so what do we have? We have a bunch of young people out there who are having sex but feeling empty and lonely and depressed and anxious and not knowing why. Because we are teaching sex, but we're not teaching about connection.
Can I also say, and I don't know that it's true that in the UK that we're teaching 9-year-olds about anal, by the way, but the thing that's lacking in sex education often here is pleasure. They do not talk about how pleasurable it can be, or that girls should be, when they have their first sexual experience, ideally as young women, that are not girls, but of course they should be young women, they should be of age, that their pleasure matters. There's so many young women who at the first just go, I guess I have to do this, and he has to find pleasure in it. But
not here. Zyrex, not here. I can tell you this, right? So Zyrex says, I talk to a lot of red pill men that usually always talk in extremes, hence my retracted statement. My apologies. No apologies needed. I understand. Here, I want to, yes, you may consider myself red pill. I get it. But I want to make it more logic based, right? More freedom of interchanging of ideologies, right? That's what I want. I do not promote, like I said, I don't promote hate. I'm not promoting hating women. I'm not promoting the extremes. Evil Eddie, my brother, I love you. Thank you for being here. So I don't promote that. I don't push that. Right? That's not what, this is why I want to build a community where men and women can talk to each other. We can talk to each other. If you don't like my point of view, let's talk, right? If we can't agree, we agree to disagree, right? Find common ground or disagree to disagree. Agree to disagree. That is it. Hold me accountable. I'll hold you accountable. You hold me accountable. Let's have a conversation. I want to promote unity. I want to promote like where we can talk to each other, where we can have good dialogues, fun, intellectual, fun dialogue. That is what I want. I hate the whole thing where certain men, red pill, whatever, hating on women or any other stuff like women hating on men. We don't need that. Let's try to, have a conversation with each other.
Learning what makes your own body feel pleasant, and it can be a lifelong relationship partner and all
So
of
that's
those
a
things.
1950s idea. The 1950s were a time, I mean, nobody wants to go back to the 1950s. You know, the books that I write, people come up to me and they say, you want women to go back to being pregnant and barefoot in the kitchen. I'm like, what? No, we don't want to go back to the 50s because women didn't have choice and women didn't know about orgasm and they didn't know about, you know, that sex could be pleasurable. And so we don't want to go back. We want to move forward. We want to take the best of, the highlights of the past and not leave all of the good parts of the past behind. And, you know, take the good parts of the feminist movement too. But there's a lot of it that's not so good. And I'm going to agree with Louise that there are so many.
I love it. Thank you, Zyrax. Fantastic. My kind of peeps. Thank you. I have the same goals being here on YouTube. Exactly. Right? I love it. I love it. And that's what I want to promote. Definitely when we start to do more panels, I hope Zyrax will be a mainstay, right? I hope she will be a mainstay. I hope we can promote men and women having a conversation with each other. That's what I want, right? Respectful conversation with each other.
Young women and older women, but let's just say young women.
Don't point at me and say older women.
No, I'm old too. Older. That's all we're doing. You're old. Are looking to understand the secret sauce. What is going to make them the happiest? You know, I don't love the word happy, but I think our young people are so very unhappy. They have never.
100%, Mrs. Smith said, right? Men don't want to go back either, but feminists want us to remain in the 20s. Feminists, this is the thing with feminists, they want to pick and choose. That's the problem, okay? Feminists want perfection, utopia. Men are more realistic. You can't have it all. Stop with the ideology that you could have it all, right? You can't. You can't, because the problem is, like, a lot of feminists, they want one ideology, but don't understand that one ideology counters another. That's the problem, right? When it comes to feminism, right? So, for example, feminists wants to fight the patriarchy, right? You want to fight the patriarchy, right? Okay. But then you want, you want fight the patriarchy, men and women are equal, yet you want chivalry. You want men to be gentlemen. Those are counterintuitive, right? Men cannot treat you like an equal while viewing you special, right? By treating you equally, yet also treat you special. That don't make sense. You can't treat someone special, someone different, but then also treat them equal. Counterintuitive, right? Those counteract each other.
Been so unhappy. The statistics on mental illness and unhappiness and loneliness we have all this sexual freedom. We have all of these feminist ideals, and yet young women are so very unhappy.
I think we've got a causation correlation problem there. I think the world is not well. We are really looking down the barrel of climate change, land wars, give them an enormous amount of money. There are so many factors feeding into the unhappiness of people of all ages, and young people look at this long future and go, what is this going to be for me? I think to blame feminism for that,
Feminism with the start. I'm sorry, right? Because we don't have an example, right? We don't have an example. What would the world look like if feminism never started? We don't. So what we have is that when feminism started, we have all these problems. That is what we have, right? So that is my argument. The start of feminism is the start of the decline of the world, right? So the start of feminism is the start of the decline of the world. Plain and simple. You see the decline of marriages, the decline of birth rates, the unhappiness of people, is like the increase of hookup culture. This is what it is, right? We don't see a world where what will be like if feminism wasn't there. Just we don't.
is misguided.
It's a piece of the puzzle. And remember that my lens is a lens of seeing patients who come to me for relational issues.
So therefore, you've got a biased set of information. The people.
Yeah, well, you do too. You're using your personal experience as the core of your biasness.
People that are unhappy with their relationships come to you. Yes, everything's a piece of the puzzle, but if it wasn't this, it would be that. And what that was, oh, I'm stuck with this person now that we're not having sex and it's a miserable time and he doesn't talk to me and I don't talk to him, but I can't really get out of it. Human beings find ways to be dissatisfied.
That is untrue. Women, again, divorce is about 50%. Divorce is about 50%. For higher educated women, it's about 60 or more, right? So women they're not beholden, right, to marriage vows. Marriage vows are not keeping women shackled to marriages. Marriage vows are not keeping women shackled to men they don't want to be with. It's not. 70% of divorces are filed by women. So no, women are not forced to stay with men they don't want.
Satisfied with their lot in life. Somebody who we look at and go, my God, they're so fortunate. They've got everything they want, is probably one of the unhappiest people you know, because they
Red Door says it, right? In my view, feminism has destroyed so much in society. That's my view as well. I've said this before. Maybe it's controversial, but I believe that there is no, let's say, issue in the world or in the West that you can't pretty much root it back to feminism. I think feminism is the root of all or most issues that we are having. Maybe controversial, but that's what I heard, right? I mean, I've heard that, so
going, is this all there is? That's why often you'll see like a rock star or a movie star get absolutely everything they want and they have to go up a mountain to talk to a guru because they're like, well, I was hoping that I'd be super successful and wealthy and, have all this choice. And now I've got that and I'm still not happy. And the idea that we can look at unhappiness with what is here and then say, if this wasn't here, but that was here, those same people would be blissfully happy doesn't bear out with history.
So I actually think what does bear out is that human beings universally, from birth, crave security. We know that. They crave safety and security.
Here's Google, right? So the idea that educated women divorce at a higher rate is a myth. Research shows college-educated women have lower divorce rates with a 2019 study showing the lowest rates for master's, a higher or bachelor's degrees, while those with some college but no degree has higher rates. However, women with higher education are significantly more likely to initiate divorce, sometimes up to 90% of the time for college-educated women, often due to greater financial independence, higher expectations, and a willingness to leave unhappy situations. So I think it's more that, yes, highly educated couples are less likely to divorce. They're less likely to divorce, but, women with high education are more likely to initiate divorce. So, I mean, wherever you land on the, again, for highly educated women, they have no qualms with divorcing. They will divorce you right away. So that's probably what the study pretty much shows you, that they won't hold back in divorcing you.
And stability from birth. And we don't teach that. We say just the unhappiness is that we don't help. Life is just being free and, having a great career. And I have no problem with that. I'm the first one to say the women's movement gave women choice to have the life they want to have. Absolutely. I think that.
That's also another thing where, like Red Door said, it drives me crazy. What about love and true commitment? I think that's the result of feminism, where it's hypergamy. It is now men have to be close to perfect. Men have to be, the best out there. It's not about if you love the person, if the person is committed, if the person is just, it's no more about that fantasy, it's kind of heartbreaking.
There's a lot of women who feel bullied by practice. I see it online on my, my Instagram following and people writing. The feminist movement, at least the second wave of the feminist movement, was a little bit of a cabal in a sense that it was a small group of women saying every woman should feel this way. Every woman should want to go out to work and leave their children in daycare. Every woman should want free sex. And the bottom line is, a lot of women don't. A lot of women want the choice to be respected, to have intimate and loving and marital relationships and monogamy, and they want to be able to stay home with their...
Well, not really, right? It says that women with higher education are significantly more likely to initiate divorce, right? Sometimes up to 90% of the time for college-educated women. I think, do they have more to lose? I don't know, right? I think educated women are more stable than uneducated women. So I think that's added why they have less to lose, or they don't mind divorcing
their children and have societies pressured to live a life that isn't making them happy.
As she tried to piece together her own online story being more vulnerable, I think were your words, than the young girls that you're seeing.
Yeah.
So how do these ideas come together to and also link in and parlay into this word manosphere? Because this subject of manosphere has been at the very forefront of conversation.
Everything's a little out of balance. Everything's a little out of whack. So it was out of whack in the 50s. And so we fixed it. And now it's out of whack in a different way. We went from the patriarchy of men dominating women to now we have...
The short-haired woman is more sensible, right? The short-haired woman is more sensible, in my opinion.
The patriarchy of women dominating men. I mean, what we need to do is not go back, but come to the middle. We need to, it just makes common sense.
How are we dominating men, though?
Oh, my goodness. 60% of college students are women and graduate students.
That's not us dominating men, though.
Well, let me finish. Young men are afraid.
You're dominating men educationally, right? You're doing better than men in school. I find it funny when men had, more education, men are dominating. It's the patriarchy. Now that women are taking over education, it's not dominance. It is. You have a higher education than men. So you're dominating men educationally. Also, there are more and more women are increasing in the job spaces, right? So more and more women, again, they're getting better jobs than men, right? More and more women are getting better jobs than men. They're getting higher, I wouldn't say necessarily higher paid jobs than men, but they're getting jobs over men.
Of women and the power they have over them to accuse. No, it's true. In universities, it's a real thing. I know because I have two sons, and there is again, the correction was necessary. We needed to correct. All movements often go to extremes. The women's movement, those women had to go to extremes because to change society, you have to do that, right?
So should some women not go to university? Is that what you're saying?
No, but actually I think there needs to be a balance in society of men and women. If we say that we are going to be like Amazon women and not need men anymore, the truth is that the way it works is that by the research is that women will marry at their...
Women are now nearly 60% of college degrees in the U.S., and more women are staying single or marrying down, with 62% of mixed education couples involving women with a higher degree. How is women doing better at school trampling on men? Again, right? So how is women doing better in school trampling on men? Because again, women, by the study, right? Women deem, we hear a lot where women that they deem men less educational, right? Less men that have less education as beneath them, i.e. hypergamy as well. That's part of hypergamy as well, right? You date men that have better education than you or equal to you. So that's kind of trampling on men that, that doesn't have the same level of education for you than you.
Educational level or above, and men will marry at their educational level or below. That means that because we have fewer men in college and graduate school, women are not finding partners.
Then do better, men. This is the thing where I love see, Zyrex is doing the thing where do better, men. Right? Here's my problem with this kind of mindset. Do better. You can all get master's degrees. You can all become six figures. You can all be top tier men. So if all men become six figures, then six figures becomes nothing, right? Six figures becomes nothing special. This is the insanity. In our world, everyone cannot be six figures. It doesn't make sense. In our world, everyone cannot be top tier men. It don't make sense. The idea that do better men is honestly insane. Now, I do promote do your best. That is what I promote, right? I've said to this, I want men to be their best, right? Be the best version possible, right? Be the best version for you, right? The best version for you. But that can be however it is, right? It's ambiguous, right? I don't want to give a degree. Oh, you need to be six figures. No, you don't, right? You don't necessarily need to be six figures to be at your best, okay? But the problem is, like, in the mindset is always doing better, is that honestly, nothing's ever good enough, okay? So men do better. Men are six figures now. Women's like, all men are six figures. It's nothing special. Now you got to do better. Now you got to do like 500,000, right? Every man is 500,000. It's not that great. Now you got to do 1 million. The whole do better thing is like, it's endless, right? Oh, men are not good enough, so do better. No, right? This is the thing. We're living in a world where average women are average. Oh, they're doing better. How, this is my problem, okay? It's like men need to do better. Women stay the same. How's that special, right? How's women that, honestly get a degree means what? Not much. Women essentially are not doing better to get men, right? Women are staying stagnant. Men need to do better to get average women. This is the I don't know, the insanity where women are, let's say, 5s. Men that are 5, he needs to do better. He needs to become a 7, an 8. But just to get with a 5, in men's minds, that is illogical. That makes no sense, right? Do better to get what, right? My problem is that average women don't want average men. That is my issue, right? I talk about in the middle, okay? I rarely talk about the men that, no. Like, no, Zyrex, I love it. I love that you're challenging me. This is why I said I give you so much respect and love, right? I do that. I give you so much respect and love because it gives me something to talk about.
I'm just going to jump in there and talk about a report that came out in 2025, which sent shockwaves across the UK. It was called the Lost Boys Report. I think we might have talked about this in a previous episode, but it was a report by the Centre of Social Justice, which highlighted how many young men are now struggling in school, facing increased mental health problems and lacking positive role models, leaving them lost and isolated. And as a result, they suggested that many of them are turning to what we call the manosphere. And to give a definition to the manosphere, because I didn't actually know what it was, the definition I have from Cambridge Dictionary is manosphere includes websites and discussion groups focused on men's rights, which often oppose feminism in some way. And just to give a
Interesting. Manosphere is a loose network of online communities focused on men's issues, masculinity, dating, and gender dynamics, often opposition to feminism. I agree. Nothing about that is hating women. Nothing about that is hating women. Period.
sort of a top line look at some of the stats around this. By age 5, 25% of boys in the UK are falling behind in language communication skills compared to just 14% of women.
Yeah.
At GCSE level, boys' results are on average half a grade lower than girls. The same applies for mental health and wellbeing. Obviously, we know about the suicide rates in young men, with nearly 3.5 times higher than those of young women. Eating disorders have risen as well in young men. And from an employee
I didn't know that. I didn't know eating disorder has risen in young men.
perspective, as of late 2024, 15.1% of men aged 16 to 24 were not in education, compared to 11% of women, which equates in the UK to about 550,000 men. And lastly, young women are between the age of 16 and 24 now earn nearly 10% more than their male peers, reversing the traditional gender pay gap in this age group.
Yeah, right? Ingrid said, right? There's extremists in manosphere. I agree. There's extremists in everything. But this is why I want to, I think, content like this is important, where we don't try to promote the extremes, right? We just promote the logic, right? It sounds logical, right? It makes sense. It makes sense for some kind of reason, right? That's what I want to promote. I don't want to promote emotion, right? When you're extremist, in my opinion, it's kind of emotional, right? When you're an extremist, it's kind of emotional. So I don't really, I don't promote the extremists in anything. On a side note, what we need to fix starts with education system. How to change it to better equip boys and young men so the gap can close in education. I agree. But we need to be honest, we need to change how we educate, young boys. We do need to change how we educate young boys. I do agree. And I think we need to push young boys to strive for better, in my opinion. Right? I think competition has been a great thing throughout history. And I think we don't promote competition enough in, education and, for young boys and stuff.
And I could go on and on and on. Specifically, the things that I've kind of not talked about are just how.
Exactly. Well, the education system is built for women. I think bring men back in teaching 100%, right? 100%. I think we should have more, we need more male teachers.
Family dynamics have changed. And by age 14, nearly half of first.
Because here's my opinion, right? I think a lot of this it's single mothers, no man in the house. Now, a whole bunch of women in school, so no men there. So you have basically young boys in the household, women, in school, women. Two of the most, like, where young boys are in, right, a household and school, all women, right? All centered around women's ideology. It's a detriment.
Born children do not live with both natural parents compared to 1970. And this was really shocking. And I think it really rose an argument, which I saw play out in, I saw the Sunday Times do a big piece about it. I saw it on LinkedIn, which is, what is going on here? And is this a clue as to why we now have this term manosphere?
It's a reaction. Manosphere is a reaction to the pendulum swinging too far. The pendulum needed to swing.
And this is what I said, right? She said it. Manosphere is a reaction. I've said this before. Feminism created all these groups. Feminism is the mother, right? Feminism is the mother. It birthed, in my opinion, feminism birthed Redpill, MGTOW, Passport Bros, the manosphere. Feminism birthed it. Because of the delusions, the insanities, the consequences of feminism, it birthed all these, men's movements.
For sure.
I slightly disagree. So I think I spoke at the beginning about the sexual revolution being two things. So one is the ideological thing, which we've spoken about quite a lot, and the other is the material changes, which no one designed really. Like, this wasn't coordinated by anyone. This just happened. This is just how technology goes. And I think in general that history should best be understood as technology, with everything else kind of running along in its wake, including ideology. I actually think a massive thing that's going on with young men, it's not actually feminism that has messed them up. It's actually technology and economics. So it's that one of the most consequential things of the 20th century and before, this is really Industrial Revolution onwards, is male strength became less important economically.
Yeah, I mean, what birthed feminism? What birthed feminism? I mean, I never thought about what birthed feminism. I guess you could say, I guess you could say patriarchy did it, but I don't know.
Blue collar work is less valuable than it used to be. It's less available than it used to be. It turns out, America was saying that girls predominate at universities. Girls actually tend to be better suited to a lot of work which has flourished in this era. So say service sector work or working in education and things like that. There's basically been a boom in areas of life which are better suited to women professionally, and the opposite has happened with men. And I really think that a lot of what's going on with men, say, turning to the manosphere, is this feeling of being economically devalued. And there are feminists who cheer that on, but that's not basically, that pretty much has actually nothing to do with ideology. It's actually to do with just much bigger changes in the world. And we should expect, by the way, I mean, if AI continues apace, we should expect to see the same sort of social effects happening. That this, when you change how people earn their money, and particularly when we're talking about people matching up, like women tend to want to marry.
Let me say, right? Yes, technology and economically is the real reason why we are having the problems we're having. It's not helping men adjust. Let me say this, right? I don't necessarily disagree, right? Technology has an influence, but in my opinion, right? What changed economically, right? What changed economically? Women in the workforce, right? Including, and again, it is what it is. I'm not saying, oh, let's go back and not have women in the workforce. No, it's reality, right? But again, women in the workforce, or a huge amount of women in the workforce, right? Just a huge amount, okay? And what made that? Feminism. So it was pretty much the cascading effect. It's feminism.
Man who, I think being a provider is not quite right. I think what women really want, though, is a man who provides excellent insurance, a man who, when you've just had a baby and you can't work, or you're ill, or you want to spend more time home with your children, whatever, you want a man who can step up and can look after your family. And unfortunately, the nature of the economy means that there actually aren't that many of those men. Mm-hmm. And that makes men feel really bad, and it makes women.
In my opinion, there's not enough of those men. It's that I don't know if there is not like there isn't those men. It's that those men are not good enough. Okay. I think, that's the thing. But women are just moving with the times. Can't blame women for that. I mean, to be honest, I think, like with the times, it is what it is, right? Like I said, I'm not saying that, oh, let's go back in time and take women out of the workforce. No, it is what it is, right? But again, you can't necessarily say that it's kind of true that women entering the workforce has devalued men, right? Women entering the workforce has devalued men drastically, okay? That's how I see it.
Feel resentful, and it creates a lot of dysfunction, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's just what's happened.
I want a partner. I want someone that when things are going badly for them, I'm there. When things are going badly for me, they're...
But here's my thing, right? Men are trying to move with the times, but sadly, there are factors preventing them to keep up and move faster. But that's the thing, right? Here's my point of view, right? It's like, keep up with the times. The problem is that it's like inflation kind of thing, right? So there were a time where, let's say hypothetically, men were average, or let's say men made 50K, right? So there were a time where men make 50K, and that was good enough to raise a family. Now that women made 50K, right? And women made nothing. So women were fine with men making 50K because they made nothing and it was good enough for them, right? That was good enough, right? You're average, great, awesome. But now average women are making, let's say, 40K. Still men are making 50K, right? Average men, it's average earning. But now that average women are making 40K, average women thinking that's not good enough. Keep up with the time. Do better. But that's insanity. It's like women always now expect that average men need to not be average men, right? It's because women have fluctuated so far, right? So it was 0 to 40. So in women's mind that she went from 0 to 40, men should make 50 to now 100. That's what women thinking. Oh, since women have evolved or moved with the time, men are not. But that's the problem. It's like, because there was a difference, right? The difference in movement. You see the kind of the logic in that? So women went from 0 to 40. So women expect if women were moving, right? Women were moving up, men should move up. But that's insanity. Where women were, they were average, which average women were like, let's say 0, right? Let's say 0. Now today, average women are 40, but it's still just a changing of what the barometer of average, right? That's the point. So women only change the barometer of averageness. Yet women think that men should change the barometer for averageness. It's kind of insane. That's the problem, right? That's the problem we're having, where women have changed the barometer for averageness. They expect men to do the same. It's kind of hard.
They're there for me. Like, I want a partner. I don't want this biological essentialism of he's got to step up and be the provider and the protector. I don't want that.
Deborah, can I ask to that point then on that partnership? As a man, I still kind of assume that a woman is more likely to choose me if I have more money than her and I can pay the bills and I take care of her. And so I looked into some of the research around that, and there's still an expectation amongst women that their male.
A New Zealand dating survey revealed that 70% of women consider a partner's income very important when choosing a life partner. I forgot what's the study, right? I forgot a study, but there was a study that today, right? Women today still consider if a man can provide as an important factor, right? Men that provide as an important factor. And that's the thing. Since women's standards have increased, women's expectation has increased, right? Women's expectations has increased, right? So now that women can provide what men basically could provide, right? The average barometer, now women expect men to provide even more. That's the problem. That's the problem that men are facing. And that's the problem, the results of feminism. It's not that women think that, oh, you know what? Now that I'm on even playing field with men, now I expect more from men. And that's the problem we're facing.
Partner will earn much more than them. And when they did this big, I think it's about 70%, I'll put the right stat on the screen, when they did this big analysis of dating behavior, where they looked at 1.8 million online dating profiles across 20 different countries. If you earned more, so if you had higher income, you are 255% more likely to get an indication of interest on these applications. And so I would love to live in a world where that wasn't the case, but it seems that women are still choosing men that earn much more money. And that expectation of therefore being the provider is so inherent in reproductive success as a man.
There's a reason for that, though. So what we haven't talked about, can we talk about children now?
Sure, we can talk about whatever you like.
If you want to raise children and be the primary attachment figure for your children, and it's usually the mother, sometimes it's the father now, but it's still usually the mother. Children need a primary attachment figure as present as possible in the first 3 years if they are going to be mentally healthy in the future. All of the research shows that. If you're going to be as physically present...
Oh, even Eddie said correct. And average and below average women have the same expectations from men. Yes. The problem is that barometer for averageness has changed. But it has changed for women. It hasn't changed for men. And that's what women have a problem with that. Right? Modern day women have a problem with the barometer of averageness for men. Women believe that I seen a video, right? I did a video a while back. Most women thought most men were making 100K, right? Not most women, but a lot of women thought a lot of men were making 100K. Are you kidding me? 100K, even in today's day and age, is still rare. It is rare. I'm sorry. Most men don't make that. The average earning for most men is about 60. It's about 60. That is average. Okay? And the problem is the barometer for averageness for women has changed. Yet women expect that barometer for men to change as well. And that's where we have a problem, a disconnect.
As possible. Unless you've saved a lot of money as a woman, you need to depend on your partner, on your team member. My husband and I were a team. Before we had children, we both earned a lot and worked really hard and spent our money equally. But then we decided, it was a strategy. We were going to have children, and I was going to work as little as possible so I could be there for them. And he did the bulk of the earning. And now the joke is, I'm out in the world and
100%. The bare minimum is a insanely high expectation from most women. Exactly. The bar? Oh my God. Women's bar. I'm telling you, right? The bare minimum, the bar is never, oh, I want a man that can pay his own bills. I want a man that's stable. I want a man that just more, I want an average man. No, when you hear a woman's bar, right? It is usually, this is why you hear this in the manosphere, 6 figures, 6 feet, 6 pack, 6 inches, right? It's usually top tier men. It is insane that women think the bar for men is 6 feet, right? Just even that, right? Even that example. Women think the bar for men is 6 feet. No, the bar for men is 5'8". That is average. That 5'8" is average height for most men. Women think the bar starts at 6 feet. That is the insanity. So this is why women judge every man off of what they believe is the bar, right? 6 feet. And they think that's the bare minimum.
I'm going to be taking over and he's going to be sitting by the pool, and I'd be fine with that. But that's what teamwork is. But the idea that I could lean on my husband financially in those years and not have to earn money and be able to be present for my children, there is a very good reason why that is critical for children. And we don't talk about children. We're sitting here, this is the first time we talked about children. We're talking about adults and individuals. And no, children are dependent on us. If you don't have to have children to be happy, but if you are going to bring children into this world, you have a responsibility to those children, and it surpasses any individual desire you may have.
And you're saying the mother should be there in those opening years?
The primary attachment figure, who's usually the mother. Daycare is terrible for children. Let's define daycare. Daycare is anything under the age of 3. Otherwise, we call it preschool. We used to call it nursery school, 3 to 5 before kindergarten. Okay. So anything under the age of 3 where you put your child in group care is daycare. And what it really is, they're day orphanages. You separate a baby who needs skin-to-skin contact, the sound of their mother's voice, her eyes, her physical and emotional presence to soothe that baby when they're in distress from moment to moment, to help to regulate their emotions. So 2 things mothers do. They buffer children from stress, which is so important because the part of their brain that regulates stress is meant to remain offline for the first year and very quietly, slowly come online for the next 2 years. So what are we doing? We're throwing babies into these institutional orphanages. It's overstimulating. It's stressful. If you walk into any daycare, you are going to hear many, many children crying. Children are not meant to cry much in the first year. They're meant to be held by their mothers and held against their mothers' bodies. So they buffer children from stress and they regulate their emotions. So what we're seeing as a mental health crisis is a crisis of emotional regulation issues in children, adolescents, and adults. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, these are all emotional regulation issues. That means people cannot regulate their emotions. And so we're just giving them pills. We're not saying, where does emotional regulation?
Do you think it's the rise in all the athletes, whether college or high school, that makes women think men are just giants now? That's interesting. That's interesting. It's the internet, right? Social media, right? Because in social media, you're seeing all these top tier men, right? So women think that top tier men in any kind of category, let's say athletes, they think they're common. That's the problem. This is the thing where in today's day and age, you can have an athlete DM a girl in, let's say, an athlete in New York can DM a girl in California, right? That's insanity. So it's the interconnection, right? We are more connected than ever before, and that's the problem.
Come from? What's the origin of it? And the origin of it is in the very early days of your life. If you had a mother who soothed you when you were in distress from moment to moment, it regulates your emotions. So it's only after 3, 85% of the right brain is developed by 3. It's only after 3 that you start to internalize the ability to regulate your own emotions or to deal with stress and adversity in the future.
So does that mean that if I'm not home as a mother for those early 3 years, you think there's possible chances that my child might grow up to be somewhat traumatized or have some kind of...
It is not what nature intended for us. And so we have made social changes that are about narcissism and self-orientation and me, and don't involve an
God, she's speaking some amazing ass facts. I love it. It is the selfishness of modern day women. Me. This is why I said feminism teaches individuality. It doesn't teach the betterment of society. It teaches the betterment of you or women.
understanding of children's irreducible developmental needs. And if we did, then maybe more women wouldn't have children, and that would be fine. I have no problem. I'm not a pronatalist. You don't have to have children to be happy. You can, build businesses, build houses, have loving, intimate relationships, not have children. But if you're going to have children, you need to know that dropping and running, putting them in daycare, or now, let's talk about very poor.
And you know what? This is the thing, right? Real Rand said, do jujitsu, short guys. Excel at jujitsu. Focus on something, right? If you are short, if you are deficient in one area, focus on other areas. That's what I said. Be the best version of yourself possible, right? The best possible version of yourself. Mentally, physically, financially, okay? If you're deficient in one area, focus on other areas, right? And when you're focusing on other areas, when you're focusing on, the best version of yourself, get a passport. Travel the world. That's the point. Do not confine yourself to only America or the West. Travel the world. Okay, be the best version of yourself. Like Evil Eddie said, right? Go MGTOW. Focus on yourself. Focus on your own happiness, your self-respect, self-love, and then passport, bro. Travel the world.
Women. Because this is always going to come back at me.
Yo, Evil Eddie, that's pretty cool. I train in BJJ, Sambo, wrestling, Kung Fu, kickboxing, Tai Chi. That is amazing. I love that.
About very poor women. There are so many solutions for very poor women that do not involve daycare. And I hate when people say poor women have to rely on daycare. Why should they have
Ginger Ninja. I love that.
to rely on daycare when rich women don't have to rely on daycare? And the truth is there are other solutions. Poor women can live together and support one another and form community.
Oh, I love MMA, right? Bro,
They can share care of a caregiver. It's far better to have a single surrogate attachment figure, a babysitter who is a full-time babysitter, than putting a child in daycare. So if you can't be there and you're poor and you have to work, then it's far better to have first kinship bonds, someone who's related to you, because it's going to be a more similar investment in that child than anyone else. Secondly, a single surrogate caregiver, a babysitter or nanny. If you can't afford it, share the care with another mother, because that's still going to be better for that child than putting them into an institutional group environment. Because what you're doing is you're basically putting usually no less than 5 children with one caregiver under the age of 3. In some cases, it's under the age of 1. And if you've ever had a baby crying, you know that that baby is going to get the other babies crying. And now you have 5 babies crying. There's no way you can soothe them when they're in distress. There's no way you can regulate all those babies' emotions. We are doing terrible damage to our children by putting them in daycare. Now, wave of feminism, they said, put your babies in daycare. It's the only way you're going to go back to work and work. And they didn't talk about children. The first wave of feminists, they talked about children. Mary Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft, they believed that mothering was powerful work. It was a career, it was admired, it was elevated. They also believed in fighting the patriarchy.
This is a thing where, again, right? I think that, in my personal opinion, right? I think as human beings, we should pair off, right? I do have some people in the chat that 100% make Tao. Cool, right? I don't give prescription. I don't tell, oh, just do this, do that. No. But personally, I think us as human beings should pair off. I think good men should pair off. Good men should be producing the next generation, right? If you're a good man, you should be passing down your genes, your ideologies, your beliefs, right? You should. Why have terrible men, right? Why have terrible men pass down their genes and their whatever, right? So I always believe that improve yourself, focus on yourself mentally, physically, be a good man, be a morally sound man, get a passport, travel the world. There are women all over the world, right? I'm not, again, I don't promote, oh, go have sex with a bunch of women. No, that's not what I promote. I don't promote that. I say body count is not good for nobody. I promote find someone that will love you. There's always someone out there, right, in the world.
Patriarchy. They believed in equality, but they didn't forget about mothering. The second wave of feminists, I think it was Betty Friedan said that staying at home with your children was, she called it a concentration camp with comforts. That was the beginning of the tide. That's when the tide turned for women, where the narrative changed. So women who were loving being mothers and loving raising children suddenly were told that they were in a concentration camp and that they were prisoners and oppressed. And some of them were, and some of them probably shouldn't have had children, and many of them weren't. And even today, people write me every day and say, thank you for saying what you say, because society's narrative is so much about we have no value unless we go out into the workforce.
So can I ask you, genuinely want to know, what baby boomers tended to be raised by stay-at-home mothers because financial world was totally different then. Like, you know, when you talk about very poor women, I have university-educated friends who cannot afford to buy a property anywhere. They don't have parents that can give them money. They're never going to be able to save that much money. And they move out of a rented property probably once a year because the landlord moves them on, and then the boiler's not working, and so on and so on and so on. And I have a local food bank that I donate food to, and I...
You know, I find it weird, right? Like, especially with these white women. I find it funny. My mom did nails. My aunt did nails, right? Stereotypical Asian shit. My mom doing nails, right? My aunt doing nails. They were able to buy properties. My aunt, right? My aunt is basically a millionaire. A millionaire. She owns multiple houses, right? She owns multiple houses. Basically a block, a whole block. And doing nails facilitated her owning all these houses, becoming essentially a millionaire. While this white woman who has a higher education are saying that all these other women that she knows can't even buy a house. I'm always questioning these things, right? Where these white women, these women that make six figures, like saying, I live paycheck to paycheck. I can't do nothing. I can't buy nothing and all this stuff. And I'm like, why is it that minorities, right, or immigrants that can't even make half of what you make, who are not even as educated as you, can accomplish things that you, who honestly are higher educated, supposedly make more money, can't even accomplish? I can never understand that. In my opinion, I can never understand that.
I often get chatting to people. There are nurses, full-time nurses who live in London, who have 2 children at home, who the hospital cannot have any more nurses leave because there are not enough nurses. It's a real problem that the NHS is so understaffed. Various reasons for that.
In America too.
But the nurses can't give up their job because their children would have nothing to eat.
And that's the thing, right? Yeah, I mean, like JH said, you know, your aunt found a market to excel in that always had a need. That's very smart. Yes. And that's why it's like, are these women, these highly educated women, right? Are they being smart, or actually they're being stupid? So what kind of education do these women have? How they're spending their money, how they're saving, budgeting, all that stuff. I think, in my opinion, a lot of these women who say that they live paycheck to paycheck, can't do all that stuff, they are living a kind of luxury lifestyle, or they're trying to. Right? They don't understand sacrifices. They don't understand how to, you know, go about things. That's what facilitates these kind of craziness.
They are at food banks with the full...
Real Rain, in a bit, right? In a bit, we will be talking about, you know, the whole Minnesota thing, right? In a bit, we'll be talking about that. So we'll definitely be doing that.
Time nursing job. So we're not talking about, you know, I don't really know what you mean by very poor women. there are women with professional roles who will never own their own home, who are struggling to keep the lights on, struggling to put food on the table.
Like, you see this? There are professional women that are struggling to put food on the table, keep the lights on. My aunt, my family, the women in my family did nails, educationless jobs, and they didn't struggle. I mean, they're not struggling to put food on the table and turn on the lights. How are these women going about it?
Now, when I heard you talk on Stephen's podcast before, you said, well, look, people don't want to downscale. And when my children were young, we did without things like second homes and vacations. And Erica, there is no hope for a second home now for anyone. And I understand that's different.
No,
Your generation was different.
No, but that's why I said women who are working class and must work. There are solutions for those women that don't involve putting their children in daycare. And we're not discussing those solutions.
But do you see, listen, I would love if the government, of every government, would say, here's the option to stay home for 3 years.
There are some.
And great, they should be more.
Slovenia, Hungary, there are some.
And that is amazing. Mother, and I've got friends who are same-sex parents and who have the most incredible relationships with their children. I don't think it happens.
And we're ready to say, right? You watch I eventually want to do some Caleb Hammer shows. Women that says that they're struggling, you hear their story, you hear how they use their money. No surprise.
Has to be a mother, but I feel like there's lots and lots of parents who would love to stay home for 3 years with their children and be able to afford that, and to be able to afford to get and that corporations would then go, there's a lot of
there's books written about it.
Oh my God,
actually,
you go back into the financial district, you've negotiated with a toddler for 3 years.
That's
Step
right.
inside. I am 100% with you that attachment is important and that many parents would love to take 3 years off.
Yep.
And this is not being made possible by unregulated capitalism, by governments who do not care.
I agree.
And
I'm
it
from
is
America
not.
where we don't have any paid leave at all.
Absolutely
I
All that, yeah.
So I should say, I partly as a consequence of reading Erica's work and also having you on my podcast, we have moved heaven and earth to not put our children in daycare, which has involved quite a lot of creative thinking.
Yay.
And we are poorer than we would otherwise have been. And people look at us like we're crazy sometimes and think, why have you made your life so complicated? And it's because me and my husband both have this really strong feeling that we don't want to put them in institutional childcare. And that is weird. And one of the things that I really don't like in the UK policy space, and this is true in other countries like the US too, is that governments at about the turn of the millennium seem to have cottoned on to the fact that they can use women to boost GDP. And David Goodhart, who's a friend and author, he wrote a book recently called The Care Dilemma, and he described this historical event as a one-time boost to GDP. It's not replicable. But in really the 1990s, obviously the sexual revolution predates this, but really the 1990s is when you see this massive surge of working mothers. This idea that you should be out of the house 40 hours a week, children in daycare, that's pretty new. And governments like this because governments like women paying taxes. And I think
this has always been my a bit of my conspiracy theory, right? This is a bit of my conspiracy theory where I believe that the whole feminism wasn't made for women. It was pushed by the rich, right? Pushed by the rich, pushed by government. That why not push women into the workforce? More people to tax, more bodies in the workforce. That is the thing, right? It's not about, they didn't care about women's rights. It's just the byproduct, right? Women gaining the rights to vote. Great for women. Who cares, right? Great. You can now have credit cards. Awesome. We have more people to put in debt. Awesome. We love it, right? The rich loves it. The rich loves that more women have debt, right? They love it. The rich loves it that more women can buy their LV, Chanel, whatever, right? The rich loves it. So great. Push women in the workforce, more people to tax, more bodies in the workforce, and more spending. Love it. So it wasn't about who gives a shit about the freedom. It's the byproduct. It's a byproduct. We want more bodies in the workforce, more people, more consumers.
But to some extent, and thinking that if we can get the government to support daycare-based initiatives, that's good for women. There's so much research on this, moms groups and on social media and so on, women thinking, I do not want to leave my
66% of women in the UK want to stay home if they were given
right,
the
or
option.
want to work, stay home more.
Yeah.
And what I object to is the current arrangement that we have in the UK and elsewhere, where the government does nothing for you if you're a stay-at-home mother. The government actually punishes families in the tax system. If you're a single earner family, you will pay more tax than if you earn the same amount but across 2 incomes. You are directly punished. This was deliberately established as a quote-unquote feminist policy so that it would channel women back into the workforce after they'd had children. Yeah. I also don't like the fact that the only setup that's available in terms of getting any kind of funding from the government is for daycare. You can't put money towards a nanny. You can't put money towards having a grandparent or an aunt or something.
You have no choice.
Yeah, the only way that you can get any kind of subsidy is through daycare. And I think that, talking about choice, that's removing choices from women.
That's right.
And most women don't want to take that choice. And they're doing it because they're being channeled in that direction by economic forces, which I object to.
But I don't think that's to call it a feminist policy. It feels like guilting women twice. What I said at the top about relieving women from this emotional burden of guilt, I feel like if that's an unregulated capitalist policy. That is not a feminist policy.
I think what if I heard her correctly, she said that they were using feminism. In a way, they used it as a banner, but it's actually the government wanting the GDP. that's what I heard. I don't know.
And also it's a policy. The thing is that women disagree on stuff, right? So, including, present company included.
Yeah.
Some women, this is kind of the whole story of the second wave. There are some women who, for temperamental or life circumstance reasons, have benefited from this. For instance, pushing daycare as one example. I could list loads. There are some women who are more temperamentally inclined to work full time, who don't like being stay-at-home mums, who find it boring, frustrating, whatever it is.
That's my dream job too, right? Who knows, right? If I could ever do social media full time and not work, that would be a dream.
Can I ask you a question, Stephen?
Go ahead.
Would you take a 3-year career break? Would you be able to do that?
Would I be able to take a 3-year?
Emotionally, mentally?
So I would be, it's possible, but would that be my choice? No. It's obviously possible because I have the means to. So I'm a different person. I'm a slightly more privileged person to ask. But would I want to take 3 years off my career, stop doing this to solely raise children? I would not want to.
You would struggle. And the thing is, men aren't expected to.
This is a thing where you gotta believe differently, right? Men and women are different. Men can't necessarily create. It's like, yes, men can create babies in a way, but not really, right? Women are the incubators of children, right? So women find more purpose in children, in family. Men find more purpose in things, right? So the great story, like Tom Brady, okay? Tom Brady was a highly accomplished football player. He found purpose in that, right? He found purpose in it. While women would find more purpose, what would women find necessarily purpose in? It's a little bit unfulfilling sometimes, right? So it's more of a man's mentality to find purpose in things, in accomplishment, and in creating things, right? The accomplishments of a company, the accomplishments of, like, let's say, Super Bowl, stuff like that, okay? That's what men drive accomplishment. While women don't necessarily drive accomplishment in the same thing, right? They don't drive accomplishment being a CEO, for instance, or for creating a company. So it's quite drastically different where, we are just on a different wavelength. Put respect on Tom Brady's name. He was the GOAT. He is the GOAT, right? He's the GOAT.
So
We have different nurturing hormones. We have a biology that's really different.
I think we just need to take into account that no one is judging Stephen for saying that. But if I said just couldn't do it, people would be like,
So people do judge men for being losers, for accomplishing nothing, right? People judge men for accomplishing nothing. Men that are like, how they would judge it is that you're a broke loser. You're living in your mama's basement. That's how you judge men for accomplishing nothing. That's the thing, right? So we don't judge women if they don't accomplish nothing, right? In work-wise, career-wise, we don't judge women for accomplishing nothing. We may judge women if they, necessarily don't create a family. It's just difference.
and that societal expectation and that societal guilt needs to be acknowledged.
But men and women are different.
They are
If
different.
Stephen could say other things which would have people's jaws on the floor, like, I don't want to financially support my wife and child, I
just
think
don't-
people would be quite shocked by that. I mean, we just have different expectations from
I
mothers and
just don't
fathers.
want to go back to men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
No, I want to give some evidence of that. So there is hormonal research to show that men and women respond to nurturing differently. We have different hormones, different amounts of hormones. It comes from different parts of our brain. Women produce when they give birth, when they breastfeed, when they nurture their young, they produce a ton of oxytocin if they're healthy. Oxytocin helps you to attach to your baby, and it also is inversely connected to cortisol. So it lowers the baby's stress, it lowers your stress, and it raises the well-being of the baby and the well-being in you. And so what we know is that oxytocin is passed back and forth between babies and mothers, right brain to right brain connection. Oxytocin makes mothers sensitive, empathic nurturers. It makes them very attuned.
I agree. Not all women are meant to, be mothers. That's why, there's always exceptions.
To the distress of their babies. When fathers produce oxytocin, when they stay home, it comes from a different part of their brain, and it makes them more playful, tactile stimulators of babies. They tickle the babies, they throw them up in the air, they chase them around, they encourage risk-taking, they encourage exploration. They're great with separation. But in terms of providing that emotional security and that emotional regulation in those early days, mothers do it differently. Fathers produce a lot of vasopressin. It's called the protective aggressive hormone. There was a study that was done where fathers and mothers lay in bed together. It was done in the UK. And when the baby cried, almost nearly every time the mother woke up in the middle of the night to the baby's cries, and the father slept through it. But
Or
when there was,
pretended to.
when there was a rustling of leaves outside the window, the fathers woke up and the mother slept through it because of the predatorial threat. We are wired. We are mammals. We are not better than mammals. We are mammals. And mammals have been doing this for millennia.
Studies show that mothers are more likely to wake up to their baby crying due to heightened sensitivity to infant distress, while fathers tend to be more attuned to environmental sounds. This difference may reflect evolutionary roles. Mother's biology wired to nurture. Yeah. Science.
And evolutionarily, there's a reason why we have different responses, different nurturing behaviors that are correlated with our hormones. We are not the same. We are equal in so many ways, but we are not the same in terms of our nurturing.
And this is something that a lot of people got to understand, particularly women. There is in the middle, right? The average, and there are exceptions on both sides. The woman in the red, she's probably the exception, right? Her mentality. Probably,
behaviors. That doesn't mean a father can't learn. It doesn't mean a father who wants to be the stay-at-home dad can't learn to be a sensitive, empathic nurturer. But if we can't acknowledge that we're different, then we can't teach what we need to teach. You said we need education. We need all kinds of education, but you can't educate a father that he's different than a mother if you're not admitting that he's different than a mother.
We are different.
With exceptions.
We're equal.
It's not
equal,
men are
but different.
It's not men are from Mars, women from Venus. It's overlapping bell curves.
Yeah.
So there are outliers, but at the population level, which is what we're talking about, you have to acknowledge that there are differences.
Did you say that what was that number you cited? 66% of women would like the opportunity to be able to stay at home.
That's a UK
Yes.
figure.
I
60%
reckon,
in
yeah.
America, 66% in the UK.
I don't know the numbers on men, but I would guess that it's really low. And that I know that there are other statistics around when fathers aren't earning, that can cause...
She's the extreme.
I mean, it's kind of difficult to, because there are obviously confounding factors. Maybe fathers aren't earning because they are very depressed or because they have poor health or something like that. But when fathers aren't earning, that tends to be bad for relationships, bad for men's self-esteem. Like, I think whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, I think the truth is that most people aspire to something like kind of traditional gender roles with some flexibility. And I don't think that we should consider that to be like X ought to accept that and allow people to flourish.
You're agreeing with me that we need agency and autonomy and people need to choose because men are taller than women, right? That's an observable fact. Overall, it doesn't give you any information at all about me and Tom Cruise. So we're talking about trends. We're not talking about the first time Stephen holds his baby and nurtures it and thinks, bloody hell, I'm going to take a year off because I can afford to, and wants to do that. All we can ever...
That's why these conversations can't be in the individual, right? These conversations can't be at the individual level. It's at the general level, right? Like, you can't...
talk about is trends. We cannot talk in absolutes because we don't have any information about what
No one talks about absolute. They talk about in generality.
If I were a mother, what I should do or what Stephen should do as a father.
But what about policy? So like the example I gave, right? The fact that at the moment you basically will not get any money from the British government unless you put your child in daycare. They will not give you money for being a stay-at-home parent, etc. That's a policy choice, and we can't be neutral about that. We have to decide, are we going to incentivize one thing or another? In practice, it's fantastical to say we just need to give people as many choices as possible. That's not how humans work, and it's not how societies work, because societies are greater than the sum of their parts. So another example, Elizabeth Warren, of all people, wrote a book called The Two-Income Trap. I forget when, the 90s, I think. This was before she became a really prominent American politician, where she argued that one of the really important things in boosting house prices in America, and this is true elsewhere, there are other factors too, like mortgage interest rates and stuff, but one of the reasons why house prices have rocketed and have made it more difficult to be a single earner family or to be a nurse and feed your children, you know, as we were talking about, is because banks started giving mortgages based on two incomes. And it became possible to, this crucial legal change in Britain happened in the 1990s, similar elsewhere. Basically, instead of just borrowing against the father's income, you're borrowing against both incomes. And then all of a sudden, house prices go up because people have more money to spend. And it becomes disastrous for a family who are paying their mortgage based on, and of course rent, because rent is all just downstream of property prices, paying their mortgage on the expectation that they have two incomes. This is a really good example of why you can't just think at the individual level. It would be really easy to say, well, just give women choices, they do what they want, fine. The problem is when it becomes the norm and when it becomes...
Yes, the fake Native American, that was crazy.
Public policy for a certain choice to be made, suddenly everyone has to make that choice or they suffer serious consequences. And of course, people can be weird. And there are people, I know them, who look at the property price problem and say, no, I want to be a stay-at-home mother. I'm going to move house. I'm going to take up some cottage industry job at home. Like, you can do it, but you have to be agentic.
But also, can you live on an Etsy shop and have a slightly smaller house? That's not what I know. People are really struggling, guys. We need these governments to step up
I agree.
And allow this. And we need corporations to say, you know, you can have a 3-year break and come back if this is the ideal thing. What I would also say is I think it's extremely important for whichever parent decides to be the primary carer to have windows outside where they get fed emotionally, intellectually, creatively. If what floats their boat, that's autonomy, that effectively having a child is becoming an unpaid Uber driver for someone who doesn't want to go to karate and hates you anyway.
I'm going to push back on, which is part of the problem, which is that it's the narrative of misery, which has been promoted. And it's not miserable to have children. It's joyful. It's the most incredible love you'll ever experience.
That's the thing where feminism needs to promote misery, right? You have to be, oh, we're always talking about women are miserable. Women are miserable. If it's not feminist in a mindset.
Experience in your life, but it's also really hard. And I think we have a bunch of pussies, actually. Right? We are producing women and men who are pussies. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. They cannot deal with discomfort. They cannot deal with frustration. They cannot deal with sacrifice or hardship or responsibility. They want it to be easy. Who said raising children was easy? You don't get the good stuff unless you put in the work. And it's the same if you're out in the world. Of course, it's easier to go to a job than it is to stay home with a child, because a child demands more of you, but it also gives back more. And I'm going to say, this is not a binary equation here. So 66% may want to stay home, but they may want to stay home and have part-time work or do some work from home. It may not be as binary as you're making it out to be. It's not like you have to stay home for 3 years. And it's not an elitist idea. So can I just answer the guilt question? Because I didn't get to answer that, because you said you're making a lot of women feel guilty. So guilt is actually quite a healthy emotion. In small supply, guilt is a very healthy. It means that your ego is functioning. So if we're not just preoccupied,
Shame is healthy. Fear is healthy. Like all emotions that people experience, basically all, right? Basically all is a healthy emotion. In moderation, everything is a healthy emotion in moderation. Okay, zero guilt, zero shame, right? The extremes, right? Like either like the barometer of 10 or 0, those are unhealthy. But in the middle, a bit of it is healthy.
as women on our own needs and desires and self-orientation and narcissistic sort of wishes, then listen. Then we have
Really
to,
trying.
no, I mean, if we're not just concerned with ourselves, then when we leave our very, very, very young children, we should feel badly, because those children need us. If we stop feeling badly for our children when we leave them, you break the bond. You can't turn off attachment. So a little bit of guilt means your ego is functioning. It's a good sign. Now, the response to that may not be that you can stay home with your children, even part-time, but at least it informs you. So whatever time you have with your children, you spend it wisely. I mean, I think it was Penelope Leach who said, well before me.
All right, I think this is it for this video, right? It's still long. There's still like an hour or whatever. With Skull, my brother. Oh, before I talk about Skull, oh my God, I want to say that, you know, this is for this. I'll probably make a part 2 by myself off live, but I mean, what do you guys think? I thought this was good. I thought this was good. So yeah. I love it. What do you guys think? Yeah.
That don't.
Yo, Skull, my brother, I love you. I missed you, right? Skull is an OG. He's an OG of the, like, seriously, when I was starting out with doing the lives, this man madly support me, right? So I love you, my brother. Thank you for stopping by. No. The stream's still going. I'm just moving on to the next video. So I wanted to check out this other video. Okay. So the stream is still going. We're still we're not done yet. All right. But I just wanted to say, Skull, I love you. Thank you for stopping by, my brother. It's all good. Thank you for stopping by. All right. I want to check out this. All right. So this is the Minnesota, right? This guy kind of doing a documentary, and love it. Thank you for the love. Skull. I love you, my brother. I missed you. I hope you're doing well, right? I hope you're doing well, and keep on grinding, my brother. I know you're focusing on yourself, so I love it, right? I know you're focusing on yourself, so I love it. All right. So this is the Minnesota issue I wanted to talk about, right? So this guy, I investigated Minnesota's billion-dollar fraud scandal. So this is what tonight's, topic is on, or purpose of tonight's video is on. So I wanted to check it out. All right. I think it'd be fun. Okay. All right. Let's check this out.
Children. There's no children inside this building.
Potentially the largest fraud scandal in US history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that
this is our tax dollars, right? For Americans, this is our tax dollars going to these crazy ass shit right here.
they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's
Exactly. This guy is real media. Yeah. This right here is missing from actual media, right? Actual journalism, right? These kind of things, right? And this is the thing. Average people are doing this. Why is this not from like your Fox News, your CNN, your MSBN, whatever, all this shit, right? Your all these big news or you know, the Times, all this stuff. Why wasn't the New York Post, whatever, breaking these kind of newses?
the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research, and then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians.
Taking advantage of the government. Taking advantage of our stupid-ass government. Our government that honestly don't give a shit. Right? This is the thing where, again, Doge should have been looking into this shit like this. This is why I said this before. It's not a problem of taxation, right? We don't have a problem that we don't tax enough, right? It's not a problem that we don't tax enough. The problem is how our government is using our money. That is the problem. I've said this before. I don't give a shit if Republican is led, if Democrat is led. No, I don't care. I don't care because both are corrupt. We're not using our taxpayer money correctly. It's funding other countries. It's funding stupid projects like shit like this.
These groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations. And even though they have these violations,
that is crazy. I can't believe they didn't allow Native Americans to go back to Minnesota.
They're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has
laundering money, right?
14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this?
The government knows. They're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about is getting the votes and then the people.
This is why I don't care about these government officials, right? You're buying votes, right? You pay millions of dollars, right? Taxpayers' money, right? You funnel taxpayers' money to all these like special interest groups just to buy their votes. This is why certain states can for years, for decades, can be just, let's say, always blue, right? They always vote blue, right? They're always Democrat run because you're buying your votes. Absolute disgustingness.
People here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe, and they're afraid of their own shadow. And I don't understand. This is our future generations are going to have to pay for all this fraud, and they just want to bury their heads in the sand and go on and just not worry about it. Tim Walz saying there's organized crime in Minnesota. What did he do about it? Nothing. You got organized crime? What are you doing? This is the Minnesota law which mandates that anyone who knows of fraud and is a state employee must report that fraud. It's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9. Not only that, but Walz is also guilty of misconduct of a public employee. When I look at the world as a whole, and I look...
That man, right, Tim Walz, would have been our vice president. He was running with Kamala Harris. This corrupt man, this inept politician would have been our vice president. And then you're here, and then we have Democrats, the left, complaining about Trump. You see this? Misuse of taxpayers' money? This corruption, this
Look at fraud. The Twin Cities is ground zero. The fraud is worse here than anywhere else ever in history. Anywhere.
We're going to go confront these people. we're going to go to these daycare centers. We're going to see what's actually happening.
Okay, so we have to be careful because these people are very violent. They're exceptionally violent.
Now, with all of David's evidence, we headed out to the streets of Minneapolis to see how much fraud we could uncover in one afternoon.
Where are we going now?
We're going to a place called Mako Childcare, which actually has another childcare registered at the same address called Mini Child Care Center.
So we should see lots of children.
You have two different child cares at the same address, and you didn't think that was a red flag. How is that business be able to get a license, right? How can you get a license for the same place? How can you get two different licenses for the same place? Right? Same address, you can get two different licenses. You probably get two government assistants, whatever, funnel money to two different places or two different businesses at the same location. Corruption right there.
If there's this child care center, especially if there's two.
The two of them combined are licensed for $120.
And how much money have these child care centers received?
None of those vans have moved in 6 months. None of them. In 2020, one of them received $1.3 million. In 2021, they got $987,000. In 2022, they got $714,000. That's the last I have for that one. And then the other one, $1.604 million in fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2024, they got about $800,000, and in fiscal year 2023, they got $904,059. This place right here. Yes.
One place, one address, right? In about 3 to 4 years time, got $5 million. One address, taxpayers' money, right? Taxpayers' money. One address got $5 million. This is like, seriously, right? This is the problem, right? I don't say that the right isn't corrupt. They're both corrupt. The problem is that the left think that they're on some kind of moral high ground. They're better, right? We believe in justice. We believe in equality. We believe in the citizens. BS, utter BS.
Outside of it.
Well, this is actually two daycares are registered here. One of them is Mako, which you see on this sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility that you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go.
I've never seen a child care place have blacked out windows. I have never seen a child care place that have blackout windows. Shady as shit.
Go ahead. No. And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Yeah. Try to get in, rang the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. it says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here, right here, has generated millions of dollars, and it seems like business isn't even open right now, and it's a weekday. And if this was a daycare center, it wouldn't just be in some industrialized building. There would be maybe like a playground or something outside, or...
There's no play area for the kids. So where are the kids? Where's anybody? How can there be nobody here? And it's like this every single day. I've never seen a single...
And this is the thing where I believe these aren't even American-born people, right? These are immigrants. It's like, again, like they got maybe special asylum, special whatever to immigrate here and then just use America, right? Use and abuse America.
Child here. In 9 years, I've never seen a single child at this building. Right there.
Oh, then now it looks like we already got the Somalis coming through.
Yeah, they're coming. The word's out.
Hello, is this your daycare?
No. Can you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here. All right, let's go to the next location.
And the fraud only gets more from here. Make sure you stay till the very end of this video to see exactly how much fraud we find by the time we are done. And before we go to the next location, I want to show you something super interesting about the flags of Minnesota.
And here in Minnesota, if you take a look at the Minnesota state flag, they recently changed it, and it very much so resembles the flag of Somalia. And really quick, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Opus Clip. What used to just be an AI clipper has
$59. This one.
It is always insane to me that as America, we represent other flags. And it always is crazy for me. Okay? So Minnesota, America, right? American state, changed their flag, put a flag that resembles the flag of another country. You are disgusting. Utter disgusting.
In fiscal year 2025, $1,042,059. In fiscal year 2024, $1,059,078. And in fiscal year 2023, $727,336.
This next one is literally 1 block away, and this one's also generated nearly $3 million in the past 3 years. Let's see if there's any children. Let's see if...
Two places, right? Two different locations, right? Two different locations generated what is it? Close to 20 million in about 3 to 4 years. Two different locations generated almost 20 millions in about 4 years. All taxpayers' money. This is why I've said this before, this is why I dislike our government, right? I love America. I love America, right? I've always believed in America first. But it's like, when I look at the government, it's always, this is why I don't even vote. I'm sorry. This is why I don't even vote. Because I always see that Republican or Democrat, it's always voting for the lesser of two evils. Neither people are good, right? Neither are good. This is why I'm tired. I'm so tired of how our government treats us. I really am. Right? This right here is disrespectful. That almost 28 million, or that almost 20 million should be going to your people, right? And then we're complaining about grocery prices. We're complaining about buying homes when we're giving two businesses, right? That not even a business, right? Not even a business, almost 20 million in taxpayers' money. And yet your citizens are suffering through grocery prices or lack of homes. That amount of money could have built new homes, right? Could have built new homes, could have, I don't know, do subsidy for, it's just tiring.
Any of the buildings are open. Here we go. All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows.
You can come to stay with me in Canada if you like ice and snow. To be honest, I mean, like, from what I'm hearing, Canada is like extremely leftist, right? I mean, what I've heard, like, Canada is like, they're not treating their citizens that great. I mean, I don't know, right? But they're not, they don't treat their citizens to the best, in my opinion, or what I've heard, right? They're going, very left.
Windows are blacked out. Let's see if anybody is here. This door is locked.
This facility is licensed for 40 children. 0 children. I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever. The only thing I've ever seen is someone standing outside smoking.
What's crazy about this is that last daycare center is that green building right there.
No, I mean, America is better, right? I would never want to live anywhere else, right? In my opinion, I would never want to live anywhere else but America. I love America. I just think that we should do better, right? As America, it's like, why are we not thinking about citizens first? Somalia, yeah. I mean, like, seriously, their country, Somalia, is like ranked they are like, they're on like, scammer lists, right?
And the other daycare center right now is right here. These buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Can I speak to a manager?
I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Because you're a daycare. So I would want my child in a daycare because you're a daycare. I thought of that, right? Working in America and retirement in the Philippines.
Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which says it's...
And this is the insanity, right? So that amount of money, okay, you could spend it like nothing. Give it to Somalians. Instead of why didn't that money like help out communities in need, like poor reservations, right? Seriously, almost 20 million. I'd rather that 20 million be invested into poor Native American reservations. That is more logical, right? Native Americans, people who are actually suffering. We're not invested in our American communities, in our American people. I'd rather it do that, right? Because this is the thing where we use these money like it's nothing. It's fine that we send money to Ukraine, right? Millions upon millions, if not billions, of money to Ukraine or to the Middle East, when we could use that money for actual Americans, right? To bring out Americans out of suffrage. And that's my problem. America first.
License for 74 kids was paid $1.26 million in tax.
Seriously, that $9 million could have gone to Native Americans, could have gone to poor communities. Poor communities. Invest that into poor communities.
Money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way. All of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I tried to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door.
I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cuz I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
happened?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
I'm not my son. No! You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain you everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your curry.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
But
No.
you said you're scared of me because of my color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You said you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now,
This is my
they're all
tax
getting
money.
mad because he's showing the
I
paperwork
don't
of this
know that.
business being registered as a business. 74 children,
I've
no
lived my
children.
whole life
We
here.
saw one child when the lady opened up the door.
Wow.
So now
where did
they're
this
all
money
getting
go?
mad.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent
ask the
on?
owner.
There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking for the owner if you're telling me to talk to the owner?
I'm sorry. I'm not understand what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
You're not understanding what he's talking English.
No.
Does anybody?
No.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing? It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
I think we're moving on to the next location. Have a good day.
As we continue to show the blatant fraud that was taking place here in Minnesota, Somalis started following us around the city.
And now we're being followed by the Somalis. This is another daycare center, absolutely no signage, and there's no footprints in the snow of children playing outside. $5 million within the past
5.9 million in 2 years. 5.9 million they received in 2 years. That facility right there.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now.
From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous
Tampon Tim runs the show. I mean, he's definitely allowing this shit to happen. All right. All this money could have gone to Americans in need, in actual need. Things like this is disgusting, in my opinion. Trump should be on this shit, right? Trump should be on this shit.
Quality Learning Center, which actually spells quality.
Hey, right? If we get to 10K, Philippine is on the list. If we get to 10K, Philippine is on the list.
Quality Learning Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up.
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open up.
They said
Don't open up.
they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up.
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up.
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up. We have ice.
This is the insanity. Like ICE. You think he wants to deport these people? I mean, they should. Right? They should. But seriously, ICE? Here's this stupid ass white woman not caring about American citizens, the corruption. It's like you complain about Trump, right? His corrupt whatever. Yet here's the people here. It's like this is the problem right here. This is the problem with the left. This is the problem with Democrats. Absolutely disgusting.
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up.
and getting $4 million over
Don't
the
open up. It's ice.
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away.
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away.
Are you in favor of that?
Go away.
You know where
You're
the-
not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you. It's
going
ice.
illegally,
Don't open up.
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up.
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are. You don't belong here.
I belong here just like you belong here.
Don't open up. It's ice.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children right here at this building, but there's no one here. This is a child daycare
Minnesota
center.
says 99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding. Do you know where the children are? Were they kidnapped? They run away? Where are the children? This is state of Minnesota. Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah, so who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research investigating the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's calling us ICE. We're just trying to put law and order back in the streets of the United States. Get rid of all the fraud. Have you ever
You care about ICE? I swear to God, these white liberal women are what's ruining America. These white liberal women are ruining America. You don't care about American people. You don't care about the American people. It's like these people are scamming Americans, right? Taking money away from Americans. Yeah, you don't care about that. You care that you care of so-called ICE. I swear to God, these
seen children at that daycare center right there?
Where?
Yeah, it's right there. It says the child, you've never seen daycare.
I haven't seen anybody in here.
We're gonna educate you on something. So what do you think about this daycare center? They spelled learning wrong. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
99 children.
Have you ever seen any children here?
None at all. None.
This year they got 1.9 million. Last year they got 1.5 million of your tax money for 99 children. We just want to know, where are the kids?
Right.
Where are the children?
I don't see them. I've been here since 2017. I haven't seen anybody like
Never
that here.
seen a child here.
No, not at all.
And so you've
8
never
years.
seen a child here for 8 years.
Nope, not at all.
And how does that make you feel knowing that this place is receiving
Disgusting.
$1.9 million?
It's disgusting. I mean, what the hell? They stealing the money. That's a federal grant too. That's, if they get caught for that's a federal offense.
But Tim Waltz don't care.
I know. I studied law.
And do you think Tim Waltz should go to jail for all the fraud that he's enabled here in his state?
That's him doing this? Heck yeah. He's got to be held accountable for this. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason what's going on here. It's simple. It's nothing there. It's a parking lot.
And look, they even spelled learning wrong on their sign for a place that's supposed to be educating children.
That's crazy. I mean, who runs it? Who supposedly runs it?
Somalians.
Oh my God. Well, where? Yeah, it's just, I've never seen nobody here at all.
So how long have you been living here?
Since 2017, 2018.
You've never seen a single child walk in that building?
No, not at all.
So this daycare center is literally just a place to traffic money. $1.9 million just this year alone.
Launder money.
And this guy's been living here for 8
Yeah, Democrats are corrupt to the core. They are. Democrats are corrupt. They are corrupt. Right? Absolutely disgusting. And here, it's like, and they want to what? Care about Trump? They're no better. Democrats are no better. They are just as corrupt, if not more, right? If not more.
8 years and has never seen a single child walk through those doors. There's no windows either.
No.
And the only window they do have, the door, is blacked out.
Yep, I see that. I've never seen anybody go in there.
Within just a few hours, we nearly approached $20 million in fraud, and we headed over to George Floyd's neighborhood to expose more of the fraud taking place.
This place is called Future Leaders Early Learning Center, and it's licensed for 90 children. And in fiscal year 2025, they received $3.6 million. In fiscal year 2024, they received $3 million. So in 2 years, they got $6.67 million, claiming they have 90 children every day of the week, 5 days a week. So let's
these
find
people
out.
are making just about more money than NBA athletes.
And we don't even know if they're paying taxes, but we don't know where this money is going. Is it going to terrorism? Where is it going? But it's theft, it's fraud, and the reason I'm involved is I want it to stop. I care about Minnesota. I'm doing this for the people of Minnesota. I don't make a dime off all this time I've spent on this. I put my life at risk several times, but I'm determined to see this through and to correct what is wrong, what is evil.
Here at Future Leaders Early Learning Center, this building received over $3 million. Hello, how are you? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son little Joey here. Is there paperwork or can I check out the daycare? No? Why can't I check out the daycare?
Martin's not here.
Okay, but if can I get paperwork or anything to submit my son little Joey to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Business card?
No, I would like your business card actually.
You talk to your manager.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No.
No children.
Yes.
Why are there no children?
Two of Mexico.
Would my son little Joey have friends to play with here?
No.
No.
Yes.
No friends for little Joey.
Yes. Sorry.
Dang it. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
So little Joey would not be accepted to that daycare.
Joey's still homeless.
Joey's still looking for daycare.
And because little Joey couldn't get into a daycare, we went to an autism center, as they have been popping up everywhere as a rise of autism has occurred here in Minnesota because of the government funds that they're receiving. I tried to check my son Joey into an autism center.
We've been going to a lot of these daycare centers. We're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but we thought maybe we could check him into the autism center because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center?
I can't give you a number now.
Like more than 5?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, so you don't really know?
Yeah, I don't really know.
What do you guys think
You don't know how many kids you have in your business.
about like the fraud that's been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
I can't answer
What
that,
news?
but
Are you a news reporter?
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here, because there's
So why are you asking us about like
the fraud.
frauds and stuff like that?
Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to a legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
this is not a Joey spot. Yeah. But that's
Why is not a Joey spot?
a number on your other bill. But this is we can't let you guys in. So.
Okay, thank you. So once again, little Joey, he can't even go to daycare, and now they won't even accept him if he has autism.
And again, no kids. Couldn't tell you how many kids they serve.
After being able to provide no evidence of them actually being an autism center in a place where a child could go, they shut the door and we headed to the next fraudulent daycare center that was just around the corner.
We're on to the next location. We're still trying to find little Joey a place to go to get some daycare.
So where we're going now is a place called Super Kids Daycare Center. Interestingly, this daycare center was shut down when it was called Creative Minds Daycare, and it had received $2.45 million this fiscal year, 2025. They had to shut down because there were so many violations, and they went and they just reopened under a new license, and they renamed the center Super Kids Daycare Center, LLC,
So they got shut down, then started another one.
literally the next day.
Creative Minds Daycare, $2.45 million got sent to this daycare center. We have empty parking lot. We do have a bus here. This is different. We'll see if we see anybody.
I'm tired of this. This is the problem we have. It's like, I'm seeing this more and more with the corruption in our government. We don't have a taxing problem. We have a spending problem, right? It's not the point of taxing us more. It's the problem of how you spend our tax money. That's the problem we're facing, right? This money's not even used to bring down our deficit, right? It's not even used to bring our deficit down. It's like absolutely disgusting. And then you think that, oh, we should support Democrats for what? They're no better.
I knocked on the door, absolutely nobody was inside, and once again, no children could be heard anywhere.
So David, once again, another child daycare center. We have a bus out here. No one's inside. Licensed for over 50 kids. No children anywhere. But yet, millions of dollars every single year.
So the sign says Creative Minds Daycare. They got in so much trouble. They had so many violations that they had to shut down, and they reopened the next day under Super Kids Daycare Center. You see 3801 Portland, 3801 Portland.
They didn't even bother to change the actual sign. They just changed the paperwork name, right? They just changed the name on the paperwork, and they got accepted.
Portland, which is where we are.
So that's fraud right there alone.
Millions and millions of dollars, and again, the kids are missing. Where are the kids?
You'd think if they had the same address, that whoever's inside or working at the Capitol here inside of Minnesota would just say, oh, maybe that's a red flag.
Little Joey isn't getting into Camp Somalia. Exactly.
They just write the check. Human Services, they got to clean out the whole bunch. They're the ones who enabled this fraud. How can you not look and say, wait a minute, these two are registered at the same address?
On top of all of the childcare centers that's just only a small piece of the fraud. What other fraud are they committing here in Minnesota?
So another major piece of the fraud is the home healthcare industry. Where we're going now is a building that has 14 Somali-owned home healthcare companies in the same building.
14 of the same healthcare companies in one building.
14 home healthcare companies with different names in the same building.
How bad has Tim Walz managed the budget?
Are you kidding me? One building holds 14 different companies.
Here inside of Minnesota.
So the last biennium, we had an $18 billion surplus. This biennium, we have a $6 billion deficit. That's a $24 billion swing in one biennium. How in the world can you burn through $24 billion in 2 years? This is how, right here. This is a huge part of it.
And so would you say a lot of that is fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Absolutely. I would say better than 90% of it is absolute outright fraud.
And a large percentage of this fraud is from these healthcare companies that are charging the state millions of dollars while they actually aren't providing anything. In fact, the FBI just did a raid a few days ago on a building similar to the one we are about to enter. Inside of this building, there were 14 of nearly the exact same businesses offering the exact same services.
Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here.
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here. Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that gentlemen matching your description were in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare. Because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building, so.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay.
So
He's here with some kind of like propaganda.
No, we're just checking.
No, this is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason that you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. I'm gonna have, if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can continue this conversation.
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from now multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this.
Jay, what is up, my brother? It is sad that a YouTuber has done better journalism than any mainstream news channel. This is a sad state of news media. 100%. 100%. This is the problem we're having right here. A YouTuber, right, is breaking news. Journalism, mainstream journalism is dead.
Address.
Yeah.
So
as we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Right here you have multicultural home care. And right here it says it's open, but can't even get in. Another, Reliance Recovery Center.
Partially, it seems like it's totally funded by public funds.
Mercy and Grace Care, Inc. Right here you have Den Eritrean Youth Development Association of Minnesota. Another child care center. Welcome to Bright Beginning Center. But what do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Sorry. No comments. Can I please?
Right here you have Serenity Quality Care. All of these businesses are literally the same type of business, providing the same service in the same building. Another, Convenience Home Healthcare Aid Inc. and Child Friendly Space. All these companies get.
This is the thing, right? We want to look at the, like, and this is my thing, right? Epstein file shit, right? You want to look at that? It is to like circumvent what is actually happening to us right now. Democrats constantly clamor for the Epstein file. This right here is happening right now, right? It's happening right now. The scam, the corruption is happening right now.
Money from the government. Why would you have the same company essentially inside of the same building, door to door? Right here, Queenly Home Health Care. It just does not make sense. If you're trying to operate a business, you'd want to have less competition. But here, they have all of their competition right next door. We're wondering, because we hear there's lots of fraud taking place here in Minnesota, and we're wondering, why is there so many of the same companies inside of this same building?
No, I don't know that.
What do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't have any idea about that fraud, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
What do you think about the news articles and what's being spread on the news about the fraud?
Right now, you are doing something wrong.
I'm just asking you
No, you
about
don't
the
have
fraud.
to ask me, okay? Don't ask me that question again.
Okay.
Okay?
Who can I speak to?
Yeah?
Who can I speak to? Okay. As soon as you confront them about the fraud, they get angry. When these people have these home healthcare companies, you're seeing them everywhere inside this building. What kind of fraud are they committing?
So there's false documentation being submitted to the state of Minnesota for services never provided. They're having forms signed in advance for services that were then never rendered. As far as a year or 2 years in advance, they'll have someone sign these forms at one sitting, and then they just file those with the state of Minnesota, and nobody from the state of Minnesota bothers to check that those services were ever provided.
So they're essentially just using people saying that they had these services provided months or even years ago, then filing the paperwork and then receiving money from the government.
Right, and the Somali community is a very closed community, so everybody's in on it, and they don't want to talk, as you can see.
And for this building, I'm going to give an estimate of around $30 million for how much.
Oh, look at that, right? Again, see, even Jay said it. California has spent $24 billion on homelessness, and nobody knows where the money went. Laundering.
Fraud is taking place. That is a very low estimate. However, still a lot of money in fraud.
And do you think there is fraud taking place here?
I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what any of these businesses are doing?
I never ask.
And now, with upwards of $100 million in fraud, we headed to one more daycare. And this one gets a little spicy as we get chased out at the very end. And after this, we'll be heading to the state capitol to confront the incompetent government leaders who have enabled this fraud to happen.
And I knew this video was going to be super dangerous to film because of obviously how hostile it is and as we are exposed.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, so many places in the U.S. This is the it's already happening in the UK, right? Minnesota will become a Muslim state at this rate.
Exposing legit fraud happening. I did get security for this video, and I was able to do it through the Black Line Guardian. And if you guys want to help fund my security in the future, you can go down to the link down below. They're not paying me to say any of this. They came and decided to help me out for this video. So you can go to Black Line Guardian, the link's down below, and click Guardian for Nick, and those funds will directly go to my security and future videos as we are exposing lots of things happening, especially with this fraud. Like I said, they're not sponsoring this video. I'm just giving them a shout out because of how they helped me. So go down the link down below, click Guardian for Nick, and let's keep going. And now we're going to the next location. Now, this child daycare center, this one's different than all the other ones we've been to. Tell us about this one.
This one is different because, according to the state of Minnesota, this 312 West Lake Street houses not one, not two, but 3 child care centers and is licensed to hold 102 children. And in fiscal year 2025, was paid $2.66 million by the state of Minnesota.
And this is the building right here. So this building alone made $2.6 million. Let's see if anybody's inside. Now we're inside of the building where there's apparently 4 childcare centers.
We met this lady and we followed her to the back of the building where the daycare was supposedly at.
So right here we have 2 child daycare centers. We have the Minnesota Child Care Center, and then we also have Nuna. Between the two, $2.66 million. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Why are you recording?
Yes. We would like to know.
Well, it says we're trying to figure out 102 children. Is that for this facility?
What is the name? Do I see the
It's from the state of Minnesota website. It says you have 102 children here in your child care.
Which child care name is a lot of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website.
Yes.
We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Thank you.
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department? That is harassment.
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million. We are just curious, where are the children at? Do you know where the children are at? Where are the children at in these daycare centers?
I don't care.
How can these childcare centers have no children?
I don't know. No.
There's $2.6 million inside these businesses that were given by the government, but there's no children to be seen anywhere. People deserve to know where their taxes are going. If these companies and these daycare centers are making upwards of $2.6 million and there's no...
Exactly. Like, so many people in our nation could be using this money that actually need it, right? Actually need it. I'm tired of our government saying that, oh, they're using our government for them. They're using our tax money correctly. They're not. They're using our tax money for Americans. They're not. Okay? Native Americans could use this money. The homeless could use this money. Minorities could use this money, right? Actual people, right? Actual Americans that are suffering could use this money. But no, these fake ass businesses are using our taxpayers' money. This is the thing where minorities should be up in arms. Like the black community, they should be caring about this shit. Because this money could be going to the black community. Right? Right? You want reparations? This is where it's going to. This is right here is going where it's going to. Money can be going to Native Americans building up poor Native American reservations. This money could be actually helping Americans.
No children to be seen anywhere. Something fraudulent is happening. And that is not make you racist, Islamophobic. This is just the truth of what's happening here in Minnesota. If there's a bunch of white people doing the same thing, we'd be talking about the same issue. This is just fraud at unprecedented levels here inside of Minnesota. It's actually very concerning. Where are the children at inside of these buildings? They're nowhere to be seen. Millions of dollars are being sent into these daycare centers all across Minnesota, and there's not a child to be seen anywhere. Here's another daycare center inside this same building.
We don't want you to be videotaping anything.
Where is all the money going for if there's no children at these daycare centers?
Sir.
Yes.
I told you, please leave.
Yes, we have a question though. Where is the children at these daycare centers if there's millions of dollars?
Ask the local government, yeah.
Oh, we've asked. We have the paper here. No. So we're wondering where the money and where the children are at. We have the paper right here. Come here.
Who are you, first of all?
My name's Nick Shirley.
You don't have any permission to record me, period.
Can we talk outside?
You don't have permission to record.
She doesn't either have. She doesn't have permission to record me.
No, you cannot stop people on the street and question them.
We can ask.
You don't have any permission.
Where are the children?
I will sue you. You don't have any permission. We have nothing to do with this. You understand?
Then are there
children? So leave. Please leave.
Are there children here?
Please leave.
Where are the children? $2.6 million for a daycare center.
You ask whoever you think is doing that. You don't know what you're talking about. So leave.
Tell us what's happening here then.
I said leave.
We're wondering what's
We
happening.
are not a child care. We are nothing to do with it. We're common people walking. And
Yes,
you are.
we're not accusing you. We're asking where the children are at.
Don't ask me anything.
We're not accusing you. We're asking the daycare centers.
I am not going to answer. You have.
Where are the children at?
Leave.
We just want to know where are the children.
Who you work for?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Who do you work for?
I work for myself, Nick Shirley.
Okay, what are you recording?
We're wondering where are the children? $2.66 million for
You're not talking to
the
the
Minnesota
right person.
Child Care Center.
You're not talking to the right person.
Are there children that come here? Answer
You're
the
not
question.
talking
Are
to
there
the right
children?
person. Leave.
There's no children inside this
You
building.
don't know who you're talking to. Leave.
That's just a simple question. Where are the children at? David, they won't even answer. We asked him, plain and simple, where are the children? Do children come here?
This is why I've had my life. I've been attacked twice. Once with a knife, and the other time I was jumped last Saturday by 3 Somali men simply for asking questions about what was going on. And they're very, very violent people. They do not like this fraud to be exposed.
After giving this man plenty of opportunities to answer the simple question, where are the children, he called the cops on us and we headed to the state capitol where they're having a meeting about the fraud to confront the state representatives and people in the government who have enabled and let this fraud happen. Inside of this committee, a Republican representative showed charts showing exactly how this fraud has been committed and who is profiting and connecting all the dots. And while the Democrat representatives looked into the abyss, one of them spoke about how none of this is building trust and how this is a nonpartisan issue, so I went and confronted her after that.
Yes, but I'm.
He has some very valid questions to ask about what's going on here in Minnesota. And do you think this fraud
I don't know who
crosses...
you are.
My name's Nick Shirley. Do you think this fraud is Republican or Democrat or just facts that fraud is happening?
I think the fact that
Because
you're talking about it as a partisan issue.
Well, because that's what I heard you
shows
talking
me-
about. That
I know what I said is that
because
what we're talking
we want
about
to build
is
we want to build trust, but fraud is fraud. So why should we be enabling fraud to happen here?
no. I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
Okay, sir.
No. This
Sir,
is not.
sir.
When are you going to hold Governor Walz? No. She is a representative for the state of Minnesota. Yes or no?
Excuse me.
Yes. Are you?
If you're gonna talk to me like
Are
that,
you the state? I'm a disability advocate.
I heard you, and
get
you got a chance
overstimulated.
to testify.
Thank you for testifying today.
No.
Ma'am, the facts are the facts that fraud is happening here, and it's not a nonpartisan issue. How come you think fraud has been able to happen so much underneath?
I think if
This is the incompetence right here. This is why people this is why people even voted for Trump, hoping for actual change, hoping for a person that wants change, that wants to shake things up, right? Whether Trump succeeds or not, whether he actually does it or not, you have to understand why people even vote for a person like Trump, okay? It's because we're tired of this kind of thing. A whole bunch of words, right? You want to say, oh, we think about the people, we care about the people, we want to make changes for the people, all this, but you're not doing nothing. It's the same type of corruption. You are the same type of people. You talk a lot, but you do nothing. You do absolutely nothing. And that is the problem. That is a problem we're facing. There's a whole lot of talk.
Government here.
listening to our hearings, we've had now 10 hearings on this. And so there's really good data from the people who both work within the administration as well as who, both Democrat and Republicans. I think what you heard today is that the Republicans who control this committee are not actually interested in solving fraud. What they're interested in is telling a story.
This fraud has happened underneath Democrat leader Tim Walz.
There has been Medicaid fraud across the country under Democrats and Republicans. There's fraud within the Trump administration. We have is fraud. Private providers have made government a mark. And so every person running government, Democrats or Republicans, are dealing with the issue of how to keep fraudsters out of our public payment. We're also dealing with veterans. We're dealing with consumers. I hope you're looking at that. If you look at United Health, currently is being charged with defrauding Medicare. You know who runs Medicare? President Trump.
Why you just switch the goalposts?
Medicaid fraud is a 50-state issue. And so, again, it is not a partisan issue.
But that's something that you cannot affect, right? You're not affecting other states. What about your state? It's like, this is sometimes like, where we have so many politicians that care about something, places about other things, right? Ukraine, Middle East, or other 50 states, all that stuff. How about what's going on with your state? What's going on with your state? She's deflecting.
There are Democrats and Republicans who are sitting in that committee talking about it, but what you did here was the Republican chair say she's not turning information over to the one person in government who can stop payment, and I hope you print that.
Thank you for coming today.
Okay.
Crazy.
Well,
If
you
this
saw what
is
happened
the
there?
state of Minnesota that we live in, and these politicians are just walking off, thinking it's okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump, they want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who fucking doesn't care. How many more people are gonna freaking die? How many more people are gonna go homeless? And how many more people are gonna be trafficked in our freaking system?
One day we uncover an estimated 100 million worth of fraud. This shit is tiring, right? This is my thing, right? My problem is that we have so many states that care about crazy ass issues, okay? But yet you don't fix certain immediate problems, right? If your state has fraud in it, has issues in it, focus on that. Focus on the American people, right? Focus on the American people. When we have, like, let's say a state that, like Minnesota, caring about, let's say, immigration of other states, right? We have leaders caring about United Health. It's like, are you kidding me? You kidding me? How is your state caring about its people, right? How is your particular? This is a problem where we have so many different states that are like pockets of little countries themselves, where it makes it seem like it's hard to like control it, or hard to focus on these individual states. I don't know. It's like, and when we have certain things where, like, I think Trump can necessarily interfere in individual states, activities, then we hope that leaders of particular states would focus on the problems of their states, right? Would focus on the problems that are facing the Americans in their own states, right? That's what we should be focusing on. That's what each state should be focusing on, making the American people be as in the best situation possible. Because again, the guy said that, there was like a 16 billion deficit or something. Well, they're at a deficit in their state. If you can spend 100 million, right? You shouldn't be you shouldn't be at a deficit like that. I don't know. I'm just it's more about, how are our politicians improving the lives of Americans? Okay, how are politicians improving the lives of Americans? That's the issue. I hope that this story, because it's growing, right? It's already like, I think it only come out a couple days ago. Let's see, when did it come out?
Hello, we'd like to ask where.
3 days ago, right? It came out 3 days ago, and it's gotten a 1.8 million. So hopefully this blows up more, and it shakes up things in Minnesota. And great for this kid, right? This one kid, right? This one kid is doing better journalism than any other news outlet, right? Actual journalism. This is how old school journalism is. Breaking news, right? Breaking, showing corruption, actual corruption that are affecting people. Current corruption. This is current corruption, right? This is 3 days ago. This is true journalism right here, okay? But this is the thing where this is the danger, right? I mean, like the older white guy said that he was getting attacked and stuff like this. But that is bravery, right? That's true bravery, and that's being an American. You're trying to break like corruption news. That's the amazingness of like old school journalism, right? You're trying to, call out corruption, right? Call out true corruption. Yeah. Yeah, the Democrats, this is the thing. This is what Democrats are capable of. And we're hearing things like happening, and this is why these people move to blue states. This is why these people move to blue states, right? Because they know that Democrats allow this. Democrats are trying to buy votes. These groups, these Somalians, these Muslims, they know that Democrats can pay for their votes. This is how you funnel, this is how you launder money. Shit like this is disgusting. It really is. I don't know. What do you guys think? Hopefully this blows up, right? Hopefully this blows up and we see certain certain talks and some kind of change. But it's hard because I've seen corruption in our government for so long and things just, it barely ever changes, right? This is why I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in our government. All right, guys. All right. That is it for tonight. That is it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for being here, right? It definitely makes my blood boil, right? Definitely makes my blood boil when we don't care about our people, right? When we don't care about our people, we don't care about our own special interests. It disgusts me. It really does, right? It really disgusts me. But yeah, that is it for tonight. Ingresh, thank you for being here. Evil Eddie, I love you, my brother. Sisam, Red Door, Real Rain, I love you, my brother. Mr. Smith, AJ, thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. Skull was here. I love you, my brother. I missed you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Zyrax, you're amazing, my sister. Steve, I love you. All right. Anyone else? I said Real Rain, right? I said Real Rain. Anyone else? I think that is it. Mr. Smith. I said Mr. Smith. Yeah, I think that's it for tonight. You guys are amazing. I love you, right? You guys are amazing. I love you. Please check out my other videos. Please like, please subscribe if you